we all stand here at Four Seasons Landscape. This is not where we thought we'd stand on a Saturday after the election.
Are we surprised 5 years later? Poor media coverage. I think I saw a statistic, 92% of media coverage of the Trump administration has been negative coverage. Are we honestly surprised that just now, 7 days after the election, the media decided that they were going to be fair? I'm not surprised one bit. I don't think that this is something that was unexpected or a surprise. This was completely expected for the mainstream media to pander to the Democrat Party and illegitimately make these claims to strike indecisiveness and fear in the American people about what the future of the country is going to look like. But here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we are dedicated to bringing you the truth and bringing you the facts, and we're going to continue to do so. That's why we're here today, to cut through the minutia.
Thanks, Philip. And I think it doesn't take a political analyst to know exactly what the next narrative of the mainstream media is. They'll tell you that he is not accepting the results of the election and that he's keep fighting for an illegitimate presidency, which is very funny considering they spent 3 years trying to impeach him and didn't accept the terms of the last election. So they'll accuse him of that, know that ahead of time. That's going to be the narrative. And you just have to consider that whenever you're hearing the mainstream media. Don't let it get you down, because we already know. They'll tell you that, he's a fascist dictator, but when you think about it, if he was really a fascist dictator, wouldn't he have rigged the election so he won and there would be no shot of him losing? Just in my knowledge of how fascist dictators have run elections, they wouldn't leave it up for chance for them to not be in power. So I think you just have to consider the narrative that will be coming from the mainstream media and know how to combat that.
Thank you so much, Libby. You're so right about everything that you just said. It couldn't be more true. It seems like that's actually what is coming from the other side of the aisle. So that is something to consider. 25 seconds ago, Fox News projected Biden to defeat Trump to become 46th president in Nevada and Pennsylvania. Yet again, time and time again, the mainstream media has let the American people down, pushing falsehoods, pushing untruths, pushing things that aren't even legitimate. I don't think this election, the turnout is legitimate. There's definitely been fraud in this election, and the American people deserve a free and fair election. This is the United States of America. Like you're saying, Libby, we are not a fascist country. We are not run by a dictator. Things deserve to be done the right way. And that is what the Trump campaign is going to be pushing for here today. Rudy Giuliani, Pam Bondi, Corey Lewandowski out here making sure that there's a free and fair election for every single American, no matter who they voted for.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with my parents a couple of days ago, and they had no idea about any of these allegations for voter fraud. I said, well, of course you don't, because you're watching the mainstream media. A large majority of Americans have no idea what has gone on. Of course, we do. We're connected. We see it. We cover it. And I would say to a certain extent, Fox News does too. But overall, they have ignored all the discrepancies in this election, and they want you to ignore it. They don't want you to know it. They want you, the average American right now watching, or that's perhaps at Home Depot right now shopping, they want them to understand that Joe Biden is the winner of this election, hands down, end of story. That is not the case, and you're going to see this in the courts. We all know this. We've been talking about this for a month now, that this could happen, and we're going to see it.
And if you haven't yet seen any evidence of fraud, I was actually listening to a podcast this morning by the Daily Signal, which is part of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank down in Washington, D.C., and they were interviewing a pro bono lawyer from he was in Pittsburgh, actually trying to be a Republican poll watcher, and was organizing all of that. And his experience he was sharing with the Daily Signal there was that Republican canvassers, pre-canvassers, were not being treated fairly. Some of them weren't allowed in the poll locations, even though that was their right to do so. People were saying, oh, they're Trumpers, we won't let them in. And even though that wasn't necessarily evidence of fraud, it's very suspicious, because if you have nothing to hide, you should absolutely want both sides to be able to watch watch you if you're not doing anything that's sketchy. So right there, if you want to go listen to that and find some evidence, that was on the Daily Signal, and I thought that was a really interesting perspective on what he was hearing actually in Pittsburgh. So 20 electoral votes of Pennsylvania up there, and that's not an isolated experience. What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Shifting gears real quickly, I read something this morning. This is greater than just a President Trump presidency or a Joe Biden presidency. This is literally on the brink of what we know this country and how it was founded, Judeo-Christian values. I think that Joe Biden is nothing but a puppet for the radical left to come in this country and remove all presence of God, all presence throughout the fabric of our country. This is, I hate to say it, but this is good versus evil here. And I know that you get a lot of kickback. I read something this morning. This is absolutely true. You tell me one thing that the radical left stands for that is biblical based. Nothing. I am all about equal opportunity, but we cannot have equal outcome. That's called socialism, and that is on the brink. And I know that they fight back on those words, and they denounce that they're a part of that, but that is their disguise. They are nothing but a socialist plan for this country. And if you're young and you're watching this right now, this is not the country that I grew up. I'm 51 years old. I can tell you right now, that is not what I grew up on. Let's see if we get couple little standbys on that. We might be getting closer and closer to getting this thing started as we're moments away. If you're just now joining us live, we are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, awaiting the press conference from the Trump legal team. I'm sure in response to today's earlier moments ago declaring Joe Biden the victor as the 46th president of the United States. I would imagine that we're going to hear some comments from the Trump team in regards to that, and of course take some questions from the press.
will be brought starting on Monday. But the first time it was discovered was here in Pennsylvania just a couple of days ago. The people you see behind me are just a few of about, I'd say 50 to 60 poll watchers who will all testify that they were uniformly, will wait. That they were uniformly deprived of their right to inspect any single part of the mail-in ballots. As you know, from the very beginning, the mail-in ballots were a source of some degree of skepticism, if not a lot of skepticism, as being innately prone to fraud. The New York Times had written that 10 years ago under other circumstances, but of course changed their mind once it was a situation involving President Trump. Congresswoman Jordan, in her vast and compendious review of various forms of voter fraud, cited mail-in ballots as the most prone to fraud. With all that, you would have expected there'd be a high degree of security and a high degree of inspection that would be provided for mail-in ballots. Instead, in the wisdom of the officials, Democrat officials here in a city that's been Democrat for 60 years and has a very long history of voter fraud, documented history of voter fraud, instead of going to a high degree of care to allow inspections of the mail-in ballots, there was no inspection of a single mail-in ballot. Those mail-in ballots could have been for anybody. Those mail-in ballots could have been for anybody they wrote in. Those mail-in ballots could have been written the day before by the Democratic Party hacks that were all over the convention center. What I'm saying to you is not a single one was inspected, as the law required. Even when a court order was obtained to allow the Republican inspectors to get 6 feet closer, they moved the people counting the ballots 6 further feet away. It's really simple. If you have nothing to hide with these mail-in ballots, you allow inspection. I mean, this is common knowledge, common practice in the examination of absentee ballots, which happens all the time. You take out the absentee ballot, you open it up, the Republican looks at it, the Democrat looks at it. If nobody objects, you put it in the pile. Some of the ballots you will see looked suspicious. From very far away, they look like same pen, possibly same handwriting. We can't say that because we never got to see it. And now you're also going to find that way across on the other side of the state, there is a similar situation in Pittsburgh involving 300,000 ballots that were uninspected, unreviewed, not observed by a single Republican. Not a single one. It's got to be a pattern. As a friend of mine says, I don't believe in conspiracies, but I also don't believe in coincidences. Kind of funny that all Republicans were rejected here, and all Republicans were rejected in Pittsburgh, and it amounts to about, just about the 700,000 votes that President Trump was ahead by 2 days ago that disappeared. And we have no way of knowing, because we were deprived of the right to inspect, if a single one of those ballots is legitimate. That is unheard of. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. And we will be bringing an action challenging that. And I emphasize to you, it's only one of the many other infirmities in this election. I know this city has a sad history of voter fraud. After all, Joe Frazier is still voting here. Kind of hard since he died 5 years ago, but Joe continues to vote. If I recall correctly, Joe was a Republican, so maybe I shouldn't complain. But we should go see if Joe is voting Republican or Democrat now from the grave. Also, Will Smith's father has voted here twice since he died. I don't know how he votes because his vote is secret. In Philadelphia, people, the city gets no better. The crime goes way through the roof. The riots you have, the police stand by and watch it, not because of the police, because you have a mayor that lets them stand by and watch it. You got a district attorney who lets people go free. You are poorly served, ladies and gentlemen of Philadelphia. And then you got a political machine. Mayors mayors who let riots take place, district attorneys who set criminals free, I don't think they're going to care much about ballot fraud. This is outrageous. In an enormously important contest with a very, very suspect method of voting, there was no security, zero. The people of this city, people of this country have no assurance at all that those ballots were actually cast. They would have to have been almost unanimously cast for Joe Biden in order to catch up. And let me have one or two of the people, let me emphasize, this is only 2 or 3 of about 50 people so far that have given us statements, affidavits, recordings. We're going to have many, many witnesses. It's not a small case. It can be a big case. But I wanted you to get the flavor of it here in Philadelphia, because we also have to alert the people of Pittsburgh that the same fraud was done to them as here. And I'll also add, same thing was done in Georgia. The same thing was done in Michigan. The same thing was done in North Carolina. Seems to me somebody from the Democratic National Committee sent out a little note that said, don't let the Republicans look at those mail-in ballots, at least not in the big Democratic hack cities that we control. We've done a lot to destroy those cities, and now we're going to destroy their right to vote. So let's start off first. My friend, you just tell briefly what happened to you, who you are, and what happened to you like you described it before.
I am Daryl Brooks. I'm Philadelphia. Okay.
Take your mask off.
Okay, take it off. All right. Daryl Brooks, Philadelphia resident. Here for about 2 years. I come out here to support our president, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to be on the go to the poll to watch. A lot of us were excited about the president winning a second term, and a lot of individuals, African Americans in Philadelphia, were, especially men, were talking about the 401k plan and how they were excited because their finances. So when I go to the poll, it was basically they put us at 20 feet away, and they said no cameras, no phones, you cannot take pictures. I was even harassed by some of the Democratic Party poll watchers, and that is also recorded. And then next thing you know, it was 6 feet away, and they still would not allow us to see anything that was happening. We saw people working on the ballots, but we didn't know any names. We didn't see anything. We don't know if people voted twice or 3 times. We didn't know if people were dead. People were voting, but we were there and we were watching. And it's such a shame. This is a democracy, Philadelphia, and they did not allow us to see anything. And was it corrupt or not? But give us the opportunity as poll watchers to view all the documents, all the ballots. And listen, you know, we just want a fair election. And we viewed that it was not fair at all. It was not fair to allow us to, you could allow us to look at the ballots, some ballots, but nothing. It was, we were kept away from everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hello, I'm Matt Silver. I went for 16 hours straight poll watching. It took about 30, 45 minutes to get through, despite me having credentials of all possible manner. Eventually I showed an email proving that I was supposed to go in. They at least let me through. When I was there, I was turned away for a tablet. They did not want any tablets or computers there. I had to bring that elsewhere. Eventually, when I was let through, you were not able to get anywhere near the ballots. There were 3 rows of people counting ballots. The closest at my day, may have been 15 feet away. Then there was another row, then there was another row.
How could you see what's going on?
To the extent that you could see anything, we were told repeatedly, including by Democratic poll watchers, including by police, that if they see us taking a photograph or a video, we'll be thrown out and not let back in. The only place you could use a phone was several hundred feet away from the ballots. I don't know what they were trying to protect. When I was there, I saw some people looking at the ballots legitimately. Some people were flipping through them at a rate of every second or so in a way that we specifically could not even see a single thing. To the extent that you could see a thing in certain boxes, I saw they seemed to be, at least certain boxes, seemed to be in the same unusual pen and seemed to have very similar handwriting. Some boxes were normal, some boxes were like that. When they finished with going through boxes, they put them in the very, very back of the room where you couldn't see a thing hundreds of feet away. Then they put supposedly the same boxes, I can't tell if they are or are not, through separate machines where they stripped the ballots, the outer casing with people's signatures to the privacy ballot. At that point, the actual signatures are completely separate from the privacy ballot, and they'll never be able to be tracked back. What I saw was disturbing, and the process seemed to be specifically so we could not observe, and also so we could not challenge. The only way to challenge something was to call an individual called Seth, who was in the back of the room, who could speak to people. And again, they were very worried about photographs and videos.
How were you chosen?
I was asked both by my local ward and the Republican National Lawyers Association. I responded to both. I was willing to do so. There was some type of vetting process, including my bar number and I guess my credentials, and then I was accepted.
And you're an attorney, right?
I am an attorney.
Where did you find based on a court order?
I assume it was a court order. In no case was I closer than 15 feet to anyone counting.
Did they move 6 feet further away?
The closest row for me was 15, 20 feet away. Then there was another row 15, 20 feet beyond that counting, then another 15, 20 beyond that. The only thing I could see at all was the row closest to me.
Okay. And again, how were you selected?
I was selected by the Philadelphia Republican Party.
And credentialed by them?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And we'll have one. Lizette, would you speak for the other group that were not allowed access, which is another category? Would you mind?
Not at all, thank you.
See if I can get this down a little.
I'll stand on my toes.
Want me to hold you up?
Good morning, thanks for being here. I'm Lisette Tarragano. I'm a longtime resident of Philadelphia. T as in Thomas, Arragano. You're welcome. Frankly, I've always been about, I'm a retired attorney, and I got really hepped up about watching voter freedom, freedom of speech, and being able to say the words Donald Trump without getting pushed in the corner. And when I really got excited about being asked to observe ballots was when I felt that my way of life is being put in jeopardy. The American way of life being put down for things I say, who I like, and it's not fair. I'm the child and granddaughter of both Holocaust victims and survivors, and I'm the daughter of a World War II veteran and who fought for and or ran away from horrible times where people are repressed and sent away. And what I noticed when I was brought in to be a poll watcher, I was never brought in, actually. I never got past the first identification stage. They kept saying that mine, as well as 5 or 6 other Republicans, their names hadn't been entered into the system. And after the first time it happened, the second time it happened, I had no second thoughts about it being a problem, more that somebody failed to finger us into the computer system. But after a while, what I witnessed, and I said to Mr. Giuliani before, in a morbid curiosity, staring at, I felt insidious fraud going on. I felt that we were kept away from doing our civil duty. That was everybody on both parties should be upset about. This is horrible. We're being restricted. We're being restrained. And I see this nothing as the insidious nature of the Philadelphia and Pennsylvania governments who are keeping us away from doing what we were meant to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Was that the other 1, 2, 3?
Are here with me today.
The other 3 here are also poll watchers who were deprived of their opportunity to even go into the room. I could have brought, I'm getting a list now to count them, I could have brought about 50 with me, but I didn't do it for 2 reasons. 50 is too many. Number 2, they're afraid. They're afraid of being publicly identified. They're willing to testify in court. They're afraid there'll be repercussions against them because one of the people that did speak on television has already had threats. Jeremy Mercer, who was in charge, has already given a statement twice, both here in Philadelphia the day after the election, I believe, and then he was interviewed on television. Jeremy will basically corroborate the statements that were given about the fact that he was there for 21 hours and then again for another couple of hours. He believes about 300,000 ballots went through. He was unable to see any of them. He requested an opportunity to do so numerous times. Then they went to court. They got an order that they could be 6 feet closer. They were put 6 feet closer, and the tables they were observing were put at least 6 feet further away, or the people moved to tables that were further in the back. The other witnesses who we've interviewed, and we've interviewed about half of the 50, all corroborate to a T exactly what you see here, that they thought they were going to show up to do an inspection. Some of them had inspected absentee ballots before, where you're shown the ballot. The Republican is shown the ballot. The Democrat is shown the ballot. Neither objects, you put it in. If either objects, you put it aside for discussion later. Nothing like that happened here at all. This is a gross miscarriage of the process that would assure that these ballots are not fraudulent. It's a fraud, an absolute fraud. I mean, you can't just submit these ballots and not have them checked. They're highly suspect ballots, mail-in ballots. It's also highly suspect because it's almost mathematically impossible, several people have already testified, to close the lead that Biden closed. When things closed on Tuesday night, President Trump was ahead by almost 800,000 votes. And it took a couple of days to be able to produce enough ballots to bring it down. Now, could some of those ballots have been manufactured in advance by the Democrat machine of Philadelphia? It wouldn't be the first time they did it. And then exactly why didn't they want the ballots inspected if the ballots are legitimate? It would seem to me, knowing the suspicion that would exist on a political machine like this, with the reputation that it has, you would go to the extra extent to be transparent. Instead, they went to an extra extent to be secretive, as did the Democrat Party in pretty much the cities they control as a machine like this one. Because although we don't have as many complaints yet, we've got about 12 in Atlanta, we've got about 15 in Detroit, we've got about 20 more in the rest of Michigan. I would say in at least 10 states now, we have complaints almost exactly like this. This will be a statewide case because there are 300,000 ballots equally in question in Pittsburgh with witnesses similar to these witnesses. In some cases, they actually saw a little bit more that would suggest that the ballots were being tampered with. But I have to wait until they're all fully debriefed.
What would it take at this point for President Trump to concede, number one? Number two,
Bernie?
Number two, what evidence, concrete evidence, can you point to that the ballots themselves, not the people who are watching, but that the ballots themselves are being tampered? But first, let me talk about possible concession.
Well, first of all, obviously he's not going to concede when at least 600,000 ballots are in question. It's not my job to determine if the ballots are right or not. It's their job. But with a mail-in ballot or an absentee ballot, the burden under law is on the party that's proposing it, which is why it has to be inspected. It's not my, how can I possibly tell you there's fraud or no fraud. The way they conducted themselves, because it looks, I can't tell you exactly what's on the ballot. They conducted themselves in a way that suggests that there was fraud. One of the things that does involve fraud is not making it possible for the people who are supposed to inspect. That's a fraud. That's a fraud on the voters. The voters expect that their inspectors are going to be able to inspect. The voters were defrauded of that right. We will not know if those 600,000 ballots were valid, invalid, or not. Having conducted themselves that way, they certainly present a very strong circumstantial case that the ballots were tampered with. Also, the highly unusual, almost mathematically impossible reduction in the vote in that period of time also raises the question that the ballots were tampered with. So they've done everything they can to yell out to you, we were tampering with the ballots, without being stupid enough to show it to you. They kept our inspectors away. They kept our inspectors away uniformly. I don't think we're going to find a single Republican that ever got to look at one of those ballots when the law requires that we are allowed to look at them. They did it here, and they did it in Pittsburgh. That can't be a coincidence. How do they figure out in Pittsburgh they should do the same thing that happened here? And they didn't do it in other places. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask Corey Lewandowski to explain his experience.
County, born 9/10/1946, deceased 10/22/2020. Her application to vote was received on 10/23, the day after she died. It was then mailed by the county back to her on 10/24/2020, 2 days after she had legally passed away. And the ballot was then received back at the county office on November 2nd, 2020. And when you go to the Secretary of State's website today, it's anecdotal. This is hard evidence. And if you do your jobs from the media, I'm sure you'll find additional examples. And this will be one of many that we will be filing with the court. Thank you very much.
Also, when you
Think
say
about that, guys.
that there's no evidence, the people
This is crazy.
The people standing behind me are called witnesses. They will eventually, soon hopefully, appear in court and give this testimony, because we're going to file a federal lawsuit that will cover here and Pittsburgh, and we will have as many witnesses as the court needs. Right now, it could be as many as 90 witnesses. That's called evidence that there was a uniform deprivation of the right to inspect, which constitutes a fraud on the people of Pennsylvania, constitutes a fraud on all legitimate voters. Any illegitimate vote cancels a legitimate vote. And the burden of proof as to whether it's a legitimate ballot or not, when it's a mail-in ballot, is on the person proposing the ballot, because there's no other way to justify it. Well, they made it impossible to view those ballots, and there can be only one conclusion as to why you would make it so impossible. Because many, many of them were fraudulent. And you just don't lose leads like that without corruption. And you're in a city in which voter fraud is professional. It's not just amateur. Some places may be amateurs at voter fraud. Philadelphia is a professional place for voter fraud, because you have a decrepit Democrat machine that you have had in power for 60 years, and it's the reason why you have voter fraud. It's the reason why you have so much crime. It's the reason why you're leading the country in some categories of crime, because these people are not helping the people of Philadelphia. Their loyalty is to the Democrat Party. Oh, please, please. I can't. I'll answer 3 questions, one at a time. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Wiener? Who is a winner or a cheater? Oh, is he a winner or a cheater? Well, that's what we want to find out. We have a right. I mean, here's what I can say about this evidence. This evidence is overpowering in that it suggests we need a very, very detailed hearing. We have to find out exactly how many ballots are implicated, how many ballots were not inspected. The estimates I have so far, but we haven't finished this investigation, is there was about 150 to 200,000 ballots here and about 300,000 ballots in Pittsburgh. It may be more, it may be less. Now that's very serious because the margin of victory after being behind by 800,000 was only about 40,000. And it's a little odd that every vote from Tuesday on was all for the one candidate. There's also a very strange thing that happened, which will be part of our case. At some point during the process, when the lead of President Trump reduced from something like 50,000 to 30,000, at the time it was at 50,000, 94% of the vote had been cast. And when we got to 30,000, it was only 90% of the vote cast. Now, I can get experts to tell you how that happens. That happens because, think about it, you increase the denominator. What do you increase the denominator with? New ballots. Nobody was informed of new ballots, unless people were writing them up. This will be a very, very strong case. And I know you won't accept it because of your hateful biases, but let's see if you can try thinking rationally. The poll? Because they don't decide the election. The call for Joe Biden is it? Who was it called by? Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow. All the networks. We have to forget about the law. Judges don't count. All the networks thought Biden was going to win by 10%. Gee, what happened? Come on, don't be ridiculous. Networks don't get to decide elections. Courts do. Of course, courts set aside elections when they're illegal. In this particular case, I don't know if there's enough evidence to set aside the entire election. Certainly not around the country, maybe in Pennsylvania. However, there certainly is enough evidence to disqualify a certain number of ballots. The ballots that were not properly inspected should be thrown out. And that number of ballots should be taken out of the count. That could affect the election. Shh. Shh. I can't hear 2 people at once. I'm sorry. That's a whole new issue. That's a whole new issue that we're just developing. Seems to be a significant number of ballots, and there seems to be a significant number of, I shouldn't say significant. There seems to be 3 or 4 very credible witnesses that there was backdating going on, and there are direct witnesses for that. But I'm sure you'll call that not evidence. Not you, the general mob.
Can you just speak to the legal process that you're preparing?
Sure.
You're filing a lawsuit.
Yes.
I imagine in state court.
Yes.
Can you walk us through, that process for us laymen who?
Sure. Simple.
Are you expected to go to the Supreme Court? I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, sir. I can be a law professor. The case that we would file, many cases are going to be filed, some big, some small. This is going to be eventually a big case because it will go beyond Pennsylvania. But right now, the case is a civil rights case. It'll be filed in federal court. I'm sorry. It'll be filed in federal court. You could file it here or Pittsburgh. That'll be the choice of our lawyer who's looking at it now. Since there seem to be more cases in Pittsburgh than here right now, I would guess it would be filed in Pittsburgh, but it would affect both jurisdictions. And what the case allows, that jurisdiction of a certain number of votes equal to the number of votes that are proved to be not inspected properly. It could be to set aside an election, but that that could be one of the things we asked for, but I think that if you set aside the votes, you would probably remedy the wrong that was done here. Now, it could turn out as we go beyond Pittsburgh and we go beyond Philadelphia, and we have a little bit of evidence elsewhere in another Democratic part of the state that the same thing was going on, that it might spread to there. Where I do see it spreading, however, is sometime next week, unless I'm wrong, I think there'll be a similar case in Atlanta where similar things were going on. Republican inspectors showed up. They expected to inspect, right, like they do for absentee ballots, and they were uniformly kept out. They got to see nothing. And remember, Atlanta had to do the same thing you had to do. They had to catch Biden up because on election night he had lost. And he was down by a very good margin with only 85% to go. Something very similar happened in Michigan, Wisconsin, can't say Arizona, but in almost every state where President Trump had a lead going into the end of election night, some of the leads looking almost mathematically impossible to undo with the 5%, 10%, 20% of the vote. In almost all of those, this practice was followed. And I'm right now trying to find, did we get to see any ballots that were used for that purpose? If that's the case, then we have a massive nationwide lawsuit. So it could affect more than one state. But right now, the one that it definitely affects is the state of Pennsylvania in a very, very big way. But it's not the only infirmity in this state. There are dead people voting, no question about it. We get any number of complaints of that. We have a very serious problem with backdating of ballots, including 4 witnesses now who are testifying to that. Whether that becomes part of this lawsuit or it's something separate, that isn't developed as fast as this has. One last question.
In charge of elections in Pennsylvania are saying that they don't see any evidence of widespread voter fraud. So if the Republicans in charge of some of these counties who are doing this vote counting are saying there's no evidence of that, why is there a discrepancy between the people actually in charge of that and the Trump campaign?
Well, that's like comparing apples and oranges, isn't it? They're not in charge of Philadelphia. How would... I'm glad they didn't see widespread fraud. That was in Republican counties. I don't think there was fraud in Republican counties.
Right here in Philly, I have spoken to a Republican commissioner who is absolutely clear that he and other Republicans were able to watch the count here and that it was...
Well, then let him come and tell me that. I haven't found one who's willing to tell me that. Let him give me an affidavit under oath, under penalty of perjury. You're telling me these people are lying?
No, not at all. And I was going to say, I'm not disrespecting what they are.
Well, I've spoken to about 50 people.
You say you've interviewed 25 of them.
I have statements from 25. We've spoken to 50. Every single inspector.
That's 50 people in 3 days that the president's lawyer has been able to find.
Oh, no. I didn't speak to them. Are you the lawyer for the other side, by the way? Well, you should get paid for it. The reality is that nobody has come forward, even though I've called the state party, the city party. I've asked, is there anyone that wants to come forward and say that there's anything unusual about the man in charge of this whole process, who watched the whole thing, has already come forward and given us a signed statement that no one got a chance to inspect. Now, unless this man had a secret opportunity to do it, there was one person in charge of all these people. He was there constantly for both days. Not a single Republican got a chance to view a single ballot. Now, if we got to view 10 or 12, well, then we'll reduce our number from 120,000 to 110,000. But you produced this man for me. So far, he hasn't come out of the woodwork. And, well, then, maybe, yeah. Well, if I were the commissioner of this city, I don't think I would admit that I didn't allow people to do this. I mean, there was last time a Republican played ball with Democrats like that in New Jersey. He went to jail for 10 years.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We were not allowed in to watch, period.
I'm all over it. Get this. All right, guys, you heard it. Rudy Giuliani laying out a very clear case, in my opinion, of what the Trump team expects to do at this point. It's very interesting how the response we get from the media in regards to this. I feel like they spend more time discrediting the claims than actually investigating it.
Yep. The media wants to be the litigators. They want to be the defense for the other side. Let's get that clear. The mainstream media is not our friend. There's not one Republican outlet that will have Republicans' backs. There's not one outlet, period, that will have Republicans' backs, that will have conservatives' backs, that will have Americans' backs, because that's what we are. We are Americans. They are a pit of snakes, the mainstream media, and that is why Right Side Broadcast Network is here today.
Absolutely.
Folks, welcome to Angel Espino Live, the Angel Espino Show on YouTube. Proud Deplorable. And as you saw there, I had to relay that video of Rudy Giuliani speaking to the media. And folks, they're stealing this election. This is a complete inside job, and I've been talking about this for months. Right now it is November 7th, and remember, election night was on the 3rd, and it's November 7th, 2020, guys. And how disturbing it is to know that the conspiracies that we've all been talking about, not only on this show, but on Unleashed Truth Radio, PSN Radio, Around the Campfire with Kate, and, Kaiser's Talk Radio, on Global Enlightenment Radio Network, on, Jaffe Writers, Pirate, World Pirate Radio Network, on all the networks on the internet that's been covering this for months and months and months, on audio podcast and video podcast. We've all seen the corruption from within, and now we're in the midst of what has been a year-long coup against this president, against this government, and against our way of being in this country. And this is a sad day to be in America when you have the media completely taken over to the point that are completely sold out to the left, and they've taken over the minds of a lot of people in this country. And they do it by lies, by manipulation, by slander, and we've been saying it for a long time. The media is not the friend of the people. Trump said it. We've been saying it for a long time, and now you're seeing it for yourself. The media is declaring Biden the winner. They should have declared Trump the winner days ago. They should not have been, on the 7th and still no answer. But, of course, the biased media have been chopping at the bits to declare Biden the winner for days. And they've only been holding off because they are in on the rig. Make no assumptions about it, folks. This is a rig job. This is a complete debacle of the social justice that we have in this country when it comes to election. The complete reason why we have a free and open election in this country, in a true democracy, in a true republic, and in a true free society, we would not allow this kind of corruption to happen so blindly in your face. And if something's not done about this, you can forget about the republic. It's fallen. You can forget about this country. We'll never have a conservative president. We'll never have a real president. Your votes really don't matter because they can concoct votes from anywhere and put whoever they want in office. I still do not understand how anybody on any part of the aisle could condone this kind of fraud and not call it for what it is. I don't care if you're a Democrat or if you're Republican, if you're somewhere in the middle. This is as clear as could be. Rudy Giuliani did not have to say it. But it was said by Rudy Giuliani. This is many layers of corruption. And Pennsylvania is one of them. Michigan. I still think Arizona is probably has something to be looked at. Atlanta, Georgia is, I've been saying it for a long time, is definitely a very highly corruptible place, to the point that it does not shock me one bit that they're named in this possible lawsuit, because we have very corrupted people in Atlanta, Georgia, like Keisha Bottoms, who is the mayor of Atlanta, and she is very much one of these leftist socialists who hates Donald Trump, hates Republicans, has been trashing the president for a long time, and she's not very friendly when it comes to conservative white folks. Let's just leave it at that. And she's known to mingle with street individuals who can make certain things happen. And not to besmirch a lot of those folks, because when I was younger, A lot of people, when they're younger, they run with, bad crowds, good crowds. I've hung around with, a little bit of everything. And I know a snake in the grass when I see one. And she's definitely, she's a queen cobra. Not a king cobra, a queen cobra. I mean, she's not a good person, to say the least. And the people around her that she surrounds herself with are very highly suspicious also. And it doesn't shock me that a lot of this stuff is coming from Atlanta, Georgia, which I love Georgia and I love Atlanta, but my goodness, what the hell are you people thinking over there? Casting votes for this Keisha Bottoms, a highly crooked woman. And, I don't understand it other than one major point. It's all paid and bought for. And I think that's exactly what's been going on in a lot of these areas. When you look at the influx in Congress of certain individuals that have gone in, all socialists, heavy socialists, it's like a lot of this stuff is completely paid for by the left. Who's doing it? That I have no idea. It could be anybody from George Soros, which is a name that's been thrown out there. I mean, who knows? The Clinton Foundation, who knows if they're paying stuff out. I do know that there is definitely tie-ins between Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and this Act Blue organization, which was distributing money all over the place. I mean, there's connected dots type of information out there. Again, whether any of that sticks, I don't know. I'm not, into those kind of conversations at the moment. But I will say this much. It is all highly suspicious when I've been saying it for a long time that this area is very, very corruptible. And I'm talking about Atlanta, Georgia. And Atlanta, Georgia now is, here we go, is part of possibly the problem. Look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you have in Atlanta a pipe burst, a water pipe burst, and this water pipe was far away, but yet somehow they had to shut all the county down. Had nothing to do with the areas they were counting, nothing to do with that, but it had to do with something far away. But yet, county had to be stopped, and we're how many days later now that we're still trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Folks, if you don't want to say that this is ridiculous, I'll say this is ridiculous. It's beyond words at this point. Some would say it's beyond recognition what they're doing to the election process. I'm 42 and I've seen anywhere from let me see. I saw this. I remember the second Reagan election. I was too young for the first Reagan election, but the second time when he was reelected, I remember vaguely, but I do have memory of that election, and I also remember pretty well of course, the Bush senior administration, all 4 years of that. I remember the Clinton 8 years, Bush Jr. Remember that. Obama's 8 years in office, obviously I remember all that without a problem. And Trump's 4 years. And in my entire memory span of presidencies that I remember and physically have been alive and really coherent to, I've never seen the media attack a president like they do Donald Trump. I've never seen the kind of corruption during an election process like the one we've gotten this year. And I've never seen so many people misinformed and completely buying a narrative that is nothing but a pack of lies like I've seen this cycle. And this is again something that I never expected in this country. I thought this country was better than that, but apparently it's not. And sadly, it really does look like we're heading, and I hate to say this, but it might be the case. We might be heading to a civil war, maybe a little bit worse, than even that, a racial war. And this might not just be against Republicans and Democrats. This might turn very ugly very quickly. Remember, in this country, and I'm gonna see if anybody wants to join me here in a second through Skype. But in this country, we've allowed through the last couple of decades a lot of Middle Eastern people, and we've had a lot of conflicts over the world with Muslims, and there's of course the Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, which have caused a lot of issues. There's a lot of conflict in the Middle East. We finally have a president who made peace with a lot of these issues in the Middle East, and has been nominated for 4 Nobel Peace Prizes. And just think about that. This is a guy who people thought was gonna get us into all kinds of wars, and he's done the opposite. And somehow, people still have in their mind that he's a bad guy and he's meant to destroy the world. This is a guy who nobody had any beef or issues with until he became president. Which, that in itself should really let some red flags go off. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, seeing too many dots, and I'm connecting too many dots in my own head. But I honestly think that there's some, that just doesn't smell right with the way that the world is, looking at this man. And they've tried everything from the Russian collusion hoax to the Ukraine fabrication phone call. They tried everything to impeach him, and then they impeached him over nothing, literally. And now we have finally they got their way, and it looks like he's going to be out of office because of a complete rig on the election. And if you are still thinking that this is not a rigged job, this wasn't a hacked election, if you think this is legitimate, then man, you're really drinking that Kool-Aid, and I hope it tastes good and it has a lot of sugar, because you might be the idiot of the year. All honesty. Let's see, I think I might have somebody who might want to join in, so let me see if I can make that happen.
Hello, my brother.
Oh, right, all the way from Vietnam himself, and once from Atlanta, my good friend Mitchell Nicholas Gerber. What's up, my friend? How you doing today?
Good, buddy. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Love it. I'm good. Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well, but it's a very sad day in history with feeling that the election of our great president has been stolen from a very demonic, radical, communist, pedophile, satanic bunch of scoundrels and rotten, demonic people who just are actually getting more and more cornered even though they think they have won and they've stolen an election, and I think they're going to dismantle the United States of America and turn it into communist China, they are sorely mistaken, and we will defend the Republic, and Trump will not concede. But that's what I was feeling in my mind before we talk further. Angel, the jackal.
Let me ask you a question, because we're having, of course, possible judges involved soon. Supreme Court. It looks like they're going to go with a bunch of lawsuits here. Does it shock you that there's issues coming out of Atlanta, Georgia? I know you're from Africa. You're down in Vietnam now, but you lived in Atlanta for a long time, and you and I have talked about the troubles coming out of Atlanta.
The whole system is rigged now. We have two factions, the Patriot side and the Deep State. So they are both entrenched in our legal system, the judicial system, the legislation system, the executive branches, all the branches, and all the intelligence agencies. That's why there has been this Deep State and the Patriot states. The Deep Side, it's like the Sith and the Jedi. And the Sith really made a big move to steal this election. But I fear that if Trump continues his lawsuits, they will pack the courts to override the Supreme Court. It's going to take too long. So he has to take off the gloves, and he really has to expose.
Well, remember, he has till till the end of the year, really, because in January they have to swear in the president, whether it's him or Biden. Right now, of course, the media is calling it for Biden, but the media they're not the ones that decide this. Is ultimately the voters and the courts. But the thing is, it's hard to prove which votes are fraud at this point, because, like you saw there with Rudy Giuliani, a lot of people that were there to supervise this from the Republican side weren't given that chance to be able to view the actual votes. So, I mean, how can you tell what exactly is legit, what exactly isn't legit, when you're not even allowed to actually view what the hell's going on?
The thing is that that's exactly the evidence. What they are doing is clear and present evidence, irrefutable evidence, not to mention all the videos. I think you sent me one, Angel, about the actual camera showing the people that are there, the ballot counters, actually filling in ballots, so therefore taking biased sides, which is fine, but I mean, not in an election, the unconstitutional. I'm talking about biasism is okay, but you cannot do that. I mean, that's unconstitutional in terms of ballots observing and counting. Filling in ballots, one after the other, basically being the representative of 10 different people, which is totally unconstitutional and illegal and corrupt, and voting for Biden, and then burning ballots. I mean, I saw a video of this guy burning Trump-supporting ballots. They're removing over 500,000 military ballots that were voting for Trump. I'm sure my ballot, I don't know what happened to it, but I'm concerned me, yours, and all I know, Angel, no matter what happens, this has been a theft beyond all measures. And what I'm concerned about, as you are, this is going to war. We're going to civil war.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's shenanigans going on, where they're telling me that Sleepy Joe Biden has brought out more voters than Barack Obama did in his 8 years when he ran twice. I mean, how the hell does that happen? The guy who ran as the first half African American president, because he is half white also, but Barack Obama had a historic election. Remember how many people showed up at the Lincoln Memorial at the White House to celebrate how him and his wife are loved by the Democratic Party? You're telling me that Joe Biden, with his racist behavior in his past, actually got more votes than Barack Obama? How the hell does that happen? I mean, look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to also see that and understand that we had a record number of votes come in. A record, like this election has never seen this many votes come in. Okay, now when you have numbers like that, you have states that are completely shutting down the process. When at this point, mathematically, the person who's challenging the incumbent president doesn't look like he has a pathway to win, and the president's going to get reelected. And instead of shutting down, you're saying no, no, no. We're going to stop counting, but we're gonna restart tomorrow. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and we're going to just add votes that mysteriously show up, and they're all like one-sided to Joe Biden. I mean, you don't have to be like a Michio Kaku type of scientist or Elon Musk to see that there's definitely something smelling very Foot Clan-ish, if you want to go Ninja Turtle style here. But this just does not smell very good, Mitchell. This smells to me like a complete, inside hack job done to, again, dethrone the president, to defraud the people of their votes, and to overturn an election. Because if Trump wins, guess what happens? The swamp continues to get drained. You're going to continue the William Barr investigation into the Bidens, which is going to lead to Hillary. It's going to lead to Obama. With Biden winning, even on a rigged election like this, I think a lot of that stuff now will magically disappear, including the KungFlu and everything else that they've concocted in 2020 to make this happen. I called this a few days back, even before the 3rd, that this is the event horizon, folks. This is the moment in time where the veil is lifted, and we're all gonna see exactly what the hell's happening for our very, on our own, with our own very eyes. And I hope that people are paying attention, because if they could do this now, we will never see a fair election in this country again. It's just not happening. It's over.
I tell you right now, Angel, we are at the point of no return. So the bottom line is that there's no more elections. This is war. This is the second great American Revolution. Trump cannot succeed. Biden cannot rule. He must not rule, because if he does, America's finished. And they cannot go to courts, because the courts are also rigged. Everything's a rigged game right now. So Trump's drained the swamp, as you said. Barack Obama was a rigged game as well. So was Hillary Clinton with Bill Clinton. And it's just a whole entire crime family. Everyone's involved. Everyone has been indicted. A lot of people have been indicted. There's going to be serious arrests. I just saw Jack Posemich. I think that's what his name is.
Kashinic? Yeah. Sting
by Trump to trap Biden. Maybe you can play. It's like 11 minutes. It's really. I've got the website of the site, but anyway, maybe we can play it on my show on Monday.
Well, send me the link. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it. But basically, this is a sting operation that Trump brilliantly masterminded to catch Biden red-handed, and it's coming out very soon. And they think that the fake news media and all the communist minions that are in the pockets of the communist regime, and the Tricoms and the globalist elite and George Soros, they think they've won it, but they're all cornered rats, because the Jedi has returned and the Sith are on its last leg. They're cornered rats, as I said, with nowhere to go, nowhere to run. They're almost collapsing. So this was a stupid move on their part, but it's exposed them for what they are. And he went on InfoWars to talk about this, but I'm not sure where it is. I might have to find it down the line. But yeah, all the evidence is irrefutable. It's like 52 pieces of evidence exposing the Tricoms for harvesting alive innocent people in state-mandated hospitals. There is no way you can refute the truth and refute evidence, and it's all come out. But however, there will be war. I mean, I don't see anywhere around less violence. You're going to have more attacks by Antifa, Black Lives Matter. But I think that Trump will take charge of the military. He's got we have 250 generals. We have ICE. We have the army. We have the military. We have the police. We have the National Guard. We have 40 to 60,000 patriots each rally And that just shows you, Angel, and everybody who's listening, look at Joe Biden's rallies. Look how many people were there. I mean, I just saw from InfoWars, okay? I saw and you can say InfoWars, Twitter, whatever. But you see the video for yourself, and then you discern whether it's fake news or not. And this is not fake news when you see actual account of empty parked cars surrounding Biden's speech, acceptance speech, whatever that acceptance is. It's a fake theft, thievery at all levels, and it exposes him even more. But basically stealing the election and leading to this. So the days ahead are going to be very interesting. And like you said, Angel, 2 months until he has to leave, and he cannot leave. He cannot leave. I'm sorry, he cannot leave. America will be finished. I really have never seen this. I mean, this is a new form of manifestation in American history to me. This smells like war. This smells like I feel like we're the colonials, okay, the American patriots against a very devilish, satanic, pedophile, globalist elite that want to destroy the Constitution, and they've used Joe Biden because Joe Biden's in the pockets of the Communist Party, a pedophile. The Chinese Communist Party has bribed Joe Biden, blackmailed Joe Biden because of his Hunter Biden's son raping innocent Chinese girls. They have evidence. Very high-ranking officials of the Chinese Communist Party, Angel, and everyone that's listening, sent the Justice Department video of Hunter Biden raping and as you said, I think, Angel, you said they were snorting cocaine off the. Didn't you share that with me?
Yeah, there's videos that leaked on the internet, and I was lucky enough to view a couple of them before they completely were removed. One of them was a foot job that he was getting by an Asian lady. You can't really see her face, but apparently that we don't. There's not concrete evidence whether she's a minor or an adult. But we do know that it's some Asian lady. By the way, you're making a ton of noise there, bro. Let me cut your audio off for a second. But anyway, she's giving him a foot massage, and I don't know what he's smoking, but I'm sure he's having a good time because it sounds like he's having a good time. And another one, it shows a photograph of him snorting cocaine from what looks like an underage girl. I mean, this girl looked very, very young. And there's a couple of other videos that are out there, and they were all magically disappeared within minutes. I was linked by a few people that I know to go check them out, and they told me, quick, look at this before it's removed. I saw them. I was trying to see if there's a way I could screen capture them. Sure enough, when I hit reload, they were gone. And I'm talking about maybe 4 or 5 minutes had passed, and they were gone. Thank you for fixing your stuff up there. You're looking great on camera there, brother.
Is everybody am I coming in loud and clear?
You're coming in louder and clearer than before, and now you're not making so much noise. Good job.
Great. Sorry about that. I just wanted to put on a shirt and come back on the camera. Now, how's the camera? Is it coming in loud and clear?
Yeah, it's coming in clear, but I think your audio is still coming in through the camera, not through the headset, because you have a lot of reverb on your end. So I think that's what's going on. But you'll get the hang of it. I love your background, but it's all CGI'd. I have an actual background, like so I can touch my background. Like, you can't do that. You got that fake. You got that fakery, and you're out in Vietnam. You're supposed to be a man of the real InfoWars. What's going on with that CGI background? Are you look, check that out. By the way, shout outs to our man Alex Jones, who has been condemned condemned off of the internet in some places. Not all places. Luckily, he has his own website, and there's places you can definitely look at his videos. But look, for decades now, he's been a champion of a lot of this stuff talking about going back 20 years that I've known about Alex Jones. And it's, something that always people on the left would say, oh, see, he's a crackpot. He's talking about gay frogs and the shootings and in schools. But if you listen to the things he's been talking about over the last 20 years, this right here, what we're going through right now, Mitchell, should not come to anybody as a big shock because, he's been talking about this exact thing within the last, decade and a half, 2 decades. Remember, this is the guy who wasn't very fond of Bush and Obama. So it's not like, he's a lover of just one side. He is, a lot of times he tells it like it is, 100%. Sometimes he gets bad information. Stuff happens. But the passion has always been there, and it's coming to fruition now that we're seeing a lot of what people have been saying that he's a liar of stuff that he's making it up. We're seeing it's actually coming true, and it's actually almost prophetic in some way. By the way, is that CGI in the background there, or is that
That's my real.
that's the real?
That's the real deal. I just got my chick sitting, my girl sleeping, so that's why I didn't want it. But it's all good. But yeah, what you said is true, Angel, and the shit is really hitting the fan. Excuse my language, but I can tell you right now, there's no turning back from this. I mean, they've clearly stolen the election. This is a Chinese communist globalist plan. I've said this 100 times, to undermine the election. And if you notice when Trump talks, he always repeats what he says. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no complication in fact. There's no complication in logic. There's no fallacy in truth. And when you see the demeanor of Joe Biden, and you see his background, and you see the evidence that is now presently existing, his own business partner coming out and talking about the big guy, and this is rogue, this is gangster, this is dark, this is twisted, this is sinister, this is rotten, this is evil stuff, man. And I tell you, it's really come to a point where, okay, what is Trump going to do? You can't just fight this legally. You just can't fight this in courts anymore. This is a takeover. They have rigged everything around the courts, like I said before, the executive branch and everything. So the past is the past, but they've tried to destroy America for the longest time.
Yep.
Trump, thank God, came in, put a wretch in the stoppage plan, but now they've really blown the dam open.
What
this is going to be very interesting to see.
What
the next couple of days.
What's fascinating about what happened here, Mitchell? It's a record-breaking election year when it comes to numbers. Republicans were supposed to lose the Senate, the House, the presidency. Remember, this is what Democrats are saying for the last few months. That they were going to lose all three, and the Democrats are going to win everything. And sure enough, that didn't happen. Not only did the Senate stay Republican majority, the House, actually the Republicans picked up seats in the House. Now, they weren't expected to win, enough to take over the House, but the fact that they picked up more seats than they lost, and picked up seats that they weren't supposed to, that's a really a big sting for the Democratic Party. And Mitch McConnell kept his seat. Lindsey Graham kept his seat. And, there were a record number of millions of dollars being spent to try to overthrow those two guys. The fact they kept their seats, it's all a trickle-down effect from actually Donald Trump, because he brought out voters at record numbers. So that's why you have this so-called red wave that I think was real, and you saw the Republicans actually do a whole lot better. But when it comes to the actual presidency, the rig was in so deep from all these other mysterious ballots, which I wonder, since you just don't vote for the president, you vote for all these other elected seats. Is any of this going to have now an effect on every other election that took place, Senate or Congress, wise? Is this going to make a difference going forward? Because a lot of those got called and they were conceded by the loser, pretty quickly. But for whatever reason, the presidential election had to wait. And we were all forced to wait. While, all these other people were easily given, their Senate seats or Congress seats, and they were labeled winners days ago. We're now on the 7th of November, and we still are trying to figure out what the hell's going on with the presidential election. I mean, folks, it doesn't get more rigged than that. So now I wonder, going forward, is this going to have an impact on anybody else who was, a winner in their states? Think about that.
I see it as the deep state and the forces, the Chinese Communist Party, Joe Biden in the focus of the Communist Party could have especially blackmailing his hunter Joe had a son. I see they tear apart. They are stealing everything. It's the House of Representatives. They want to dismantle everything. So I am not surprised that they are. And now I see it in different places how they're stealing Arizona, they're stealing Pennsylvania, they're stealing the White House, they're stealing our rights, they're stealing the Second Amendment. They're trying to. They're canceling culture. I mean, it's terrible. So moving forward, this is historical. This is epic. This is something we've never experienced. Never. And I feel great disaster. There's going to be some kind of big disaster now, a dark winter. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but there's no way in hell that they are going to allow Trump staying in there. This is war. They want him dead. They want everything out. And this is a plot. This is a coup. So, I mean, we've never experienced it as Americans in this prosperity. We've been making our money. We've been pursuing the dream. But now, this is what's happened. So much for the glory of Rome, and God bless Trump to the Republic to the last, like the fucking, excuse my language, like the Alamo, because this is the Alamo. We are at 1776, ladies and gentlemen. 1776 is commencing in real time.
We're might as well be. I mean, we are definitely looking at some backwards ass Marxist mentality when it comes to the left. So why not, if they want to go back to Hitler days, let's just go back to the old Western, because, a Joe Biden administration, it means Beto, stupid O'Rourke. It's going to be probably what the guns are, and he already made it known that he's going to take away your rights to bear arms. So be ready and be warned, people. They're coming for your civil liberties. They're coming for your rights to bear arms. They're coming for your rights to freedom of speech. Joe Biden is a puppet, and if you think, if you voted for Joe Biden, and if you think that you voted for Joe Biden, and that he is going to be the savior, you are completely delusional. Joe Biden is not the savior of anybody. We're talking about a guy who, again, lied the entire debate process. Both debates, it was nothing but Joe Biden lies, left and right. I mean, we've seen for months Antifa caused riots and looting and shootings and murders, and this man can't even admit that Antifa is a real thing. It's, this guy is lost in translation completely. And I'm talking about worse than Bill Murray. I mean, he's delusional. But he's not only delusional, he is completely sold out and a liar. He's weak. He has no real policies. Has anybody heard an actual policy from him other than his taxes, which sent even 50 cents saying, you know what, I'm voting for Trump? This guy's crazy because it was crazy taxes. So again, think about this for all you that voted for him on the left that have a lot of money. They're coming for your wealth. What do you think distribution of wealth is? Which is what the Marxist communists want to do. They take your money and they distribute it. So if you're some guy in Hollywood who thinks like this moron John Leguizamo, who I'm going to talk about later on in the next couple of days on a separate thing that I'm doing on YouTube with him in mind. But when you talk about celebrities and people on the left who are doing all this, complaining about Trump and are backing Joe Biden, do they not understand that they're gonna not only raise their taxes eventually, if the left takes over completely 100% and Marxism takes over, there and the distribution of wealth happens? Do they not understand that they're gonna lose everything? You know, it's
I don't think they
ridiculous.
care because they are so psychopathic and demonic and twisted. I mean, when you're raping young people and you're twisted, I mean, Biden has a history of sexual molestation to his children. That's why his children turned out so messed up. Look at Hunter Biden. Look at his daughter or his stepdaughter. It's a very sick and twisted criminal family. I don't know if you can play that, Angel, but that's a good. That's the interview with Jack Posemich and David Knight talking about the sting operation that Trump has used to catch the Biden family. So they'll be brought down. This is a criminal family, just like the Clintons. They're both criminal families, criminal-minded, intent of destroying our republic, and because there's so many patriots, and you saw the rallies, I don't think we should worry. I'm not worried. I'm just concerned that there might be blood on the streets because Antifa and Black Lives Matter are not going to give up. They're going to get more radical, and they're going to. But the one thing I've realized is that Black Lives Matter and radical Antifa and all the radicals have shown their firepower, but the patriots have not shown theirs. The Trump supporters have not shown theirs. So do not mess with someone that is silent.
I just about fell out of my chair
polite,
when I saw this headline.
because he's deadly. And these little losers that have gone into restaurants and uprooted people and terrorized people's meals, law-abiding citizens who just want to have a meal with their girlfriends or their families or their friends, and they get terrorized by these thugs and these losers that never got anywhere in life and always blamed everybody else for their own problems instead of taking responsibility for their own goddamn lives. Whether they got attention or not as children, whatever, grow up and sound off like you got a pair. Jesus Christ, stop being so fucking stupid and a bunch of losers. Excuse my language, but really, it really boils my blood. And this cancel culture and this entitlement, and you have to mandate forced pronoun exceptions and affirmations, and I'm like,
well, I mean, we're living in the age of politically correctness gone berserk and radicalized.
Nonsense.
Yeah, it's
nonsense.
And it's showing up everywhere, and people wonder why the ratings in the NBA were in the toilet, why Major League Baseball couldn't draw ratings, why nobody is watching anything on like Disney Plus, why nobody cares about any of these things, because it's all the political correctness, it's all this gender politics, it's all this bullshit when it comes to the left-wing media, which are completely infiltrated, and the BLM movement, Antifa, all these people that are completely infiltrating these mediums and are taking over. I mean, do we not think that the left has been completely overtaken when it comes to like areas like the NBA, for example?
Well, I can tell you right now, and I'm just smoking some marijuana, guys. I'm fucking like Joe Rogan. That's why I like Joe Rogan, because he smokes marijuana on his podcast. Hey, you know what? That's what I do. I keep it real with everybody, as Joe Rogan does. But I like when Alex Jones went on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan was like, "No, we got to fact check you. We got to fact check you." And Alex was like, "Listen, do me a favor. I'm telling you, like I've been telling you for the last how many years, that this is going on. And you people laughed at me, you insulted me, you called me a crazy man, but yet I'm having all these very powerful executives, officials, intelligent officers that are coming on my show, supporting me. I'm getting 40 million viewers. I love Alex Jones. He's a great patriot. He's an amazing wealth of knowledge, but he has a passion. Sometimes he can go off the rails, but it's his passion. But he brings it all together, and he's got massive amounts of support from patriots, and I believe that the patriot state is overpowering the deep state, and the resistance from Alex Jones and others have allowed that to happen. And Trump knows full well about that, and I can tell you that these fact-checking, these social justice warriors, these political correctness, is cancel culture. It's all a bunch of malarkey. It's all a bunch of garbage, and it's actually this and racism that has been used as a weaponized tool to divide the people and incite violence and to radicalize jolted, lost losers, okay, who vilify the strong and vilify the confident and vilify the self-reliant. They turn to this radicalism and this burning and looting. It's insane and must stop. And that's why Trump has said he'll put out the fire. The Proud Boys, the militias, stand back and stand by. He knows full well. So I tell you right now, Angel, and everybody, we are in the time of our lives. This is an interesting time, and hold on to your ruby slippers, Dorothy, because Kansas, I hope it ain't going bye-bye, but I'll tell you right now, it's not going to go bye-bye because the American spirit is strong. And now, more than ever, when I watch those rallies, Angel, when I see those rallies as you watch with Giuliani and Pam Bondi and the other legal team representatives, they're going strong, but they've got to go hard. They've got to take off the gloves and really throw all the pedophile, satanic evidence that they've got, damning.
But the problem is, would it be too little, too late? I mean, we're in November, and December is rolling right around the corner, and January is right around the corner, and that is the issue going forward. Once January hits and the inauguration day comes, there's no more moving past that. This is still contested by then. And that's going to be a major issue going forward. Now I have the clip here set up on the page. You can't probably, I don't know if you can see it, but it's set up so we can watch this clip you sent me. David Knight is the person on this. So let's watch this together. And I'm going to go and air it now. So let's see what this is all about.
Great.
I just about fell out of my chair when I saw this headline from Reason Magazine. Now, Reason Magazine can have some, they look at things a little bit differently. And sometimes they can have some very good insights. Other times they can be totally off the wall. This one, Trump says mail-in votes are suspicious because they overwhelmingly favor Joe Biden. Well, he's wrong. Oh, really? That in and of itself is true, but that's not the whole truth. And they base this whole article and its premise on not anything having to do with the issues that people are talking about. We're just talking about the big spread between the votes for president and the votes for senator in these by-party, in these states that are swing states, as Vince Agnelli was saying. You look at Georgia, and overwhelmingly at the state level, everybody was voting Republican this time. So why, with the exception of, why would President Trump have a big lead and then all of a sudden after these extended days of mail-in ballots, they would continue to go for Biden until he gets right over the line? No, nothing suspicious about that, is there? And when you look at the fact that that difference there in Georgia, only 800 more people voted for President Trump than for the senator there. But you had 95,000 more vote for Biden than for the Democrat senator there. Was it that bad a candidate for Democrat senator? I mean, that is an unbelievable amount. That's 2 orders of magnitude difference there, right? 100 times more. So it's pretty amazing to see that kind of thing. Now, what they said is Trump supporters voted mostly in person. And he's been beating this drum for 6 months that mail-in voting was risky and dangerous, saying that you could alter or lose those ballots. You could bring in 130,000 of them at very late at night. Why would people think that could happen, right? Because we actually see it happening. So then the question is this: is this a sophisticated sting operation? Frankly, I don't think so. I mean, that's what Steve Pachinik said, and I've seen this put out on some Q sites and other places. I have to ask the question: is if this is this fraud? I think it obviously is fraud. Did everybody know that there would be fraud? Of course they did. President Trump knew there would be fraud. So was this a sting? As Pachinik was talking about this, he talked about a particular agency, CISA. They are tasked with election security, among other things. Now, CISA is not something that was created by Trump. This guy who is in charge of it, 2018, was put in by the Trump administration. But look, CISA is the latest incarnation of about, I don't know how many different attempts. They tried to run CISPA through 2 or 3 times. And it was essentially the same thing. They just removed the P for protection because I think it was kind of a question for a lot of people as to who is really being protected. And the reality was that with CISPA and with SOPA and with ACTA and with PIPA, these were being pushed through primarily to protect big internet companies who were going to be used as a arm of the intelligence agencies. They were going to be used to spy on you because they were getting concerned about the fact that they might have some legal jeopardy. You know, you just had Clapper had been caught lying about dragnet surveillance on the American people. He hadn't passed his statute of limitations yet, so he could have been facing a perjury trial. All these people were in legal jeopardy, so they wanted to get rid of that. And we had these things being put up throughout the United States and throughout Europe saying that you would not be able to sue these companies that you deal with for basically being snitches to the surveillance agencies. They had to make sure they had that covered. And that's really what CISA was about. It was not about protecting us from Democrat corruption. In a sense, what it was doing was giving legal immunity to big tech to become snitches for the CIA, if you will. Just like Fauci had given legal immunity to the big pharmaceutical companies to protect them from injury and death with their products. So, when we look at this, to me, I said this from the very beginning, the plan is really to allow massive voter fraud and throw the country into turmoil. We all knew that this was going to happen. So we allowed this to happen to throw us into turmoil. For another 80 days, we're going to have that, at least, probably. And if the idea was to put out a secretly watermarked ballot and then pull this back to expose them as criminals, you could have still done that. As a matter of fact, if President Trump would have stopped the lockdown, stopped this lockdown election, he would have won by an even bigger margin. And then these Democrats, if they try to pull anything like that, and they probably still would, you could still rope them in, and you would have more credibility. To me, if this was a sting, it doesn't even make any sense. It's another one of these deals like the laptop with Hunter Biden. They waited to the very last minute to put that thing out thinking it was going to be a surprise. And then everybody just said, well, it's not credible. The media is going to put out the narrative that's not credible. It doesn't matter if you got documents. It doesn't matter if you got photographic evidence. You can have all the documentation that you want in the world, and they're not going to believe it because the mainstream media and social media are going to censor you, and they're going to put out their narrative. So I don't see that's going to do anything other than to create a forest fire of chaos. And instead of lighting more forest fires, why wouldn't you put out the primary forest fire, which was the lockdown? And you could have taken out this corruption with credibility if you had taken on Fauci and exposed his corruption. At that point, it would have been the Russia Gate, it would have been the Fauci takeover and lockdown, and people would have believed this. But instead, we're supposed to believe there's some kind of Machiavellian secret plan that we should just trust while the U.S. burns in chaos. Maybe that is ultimately the plan. Look, I didn't jump into Pizzagate. I don't allow Pachinik to come on this show because the last time he came on this show was right after the shooting in Vegas. He came on this show to sell the lie that nobody died in Vegas because he's trying to trap me. This guy is a CIA shill, and he comes on to trap us. That's one of the ways that they discredit you. I'm not having anything to do with that. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things, not just one thing that's happening. There are things happening. We got a rigged election, but we've had a lockdown. We've had 100,000 businesses being driven out of business. We've had a communist system of universal basic income imposed on us and everything else. We're going to be talking to Richard Proctor coming up. Before we get to Richard, I just want to finish up one thing I ran out of time on. I'll tell you exactly why I think this election is running this way. Here's my conspiracy theory. It's just a theory. This is my conspiracy theory. I think that the deep state, the CIA, the entrenched government, whatever you want to call it, I think that the plan has been for the longest time, if they really want to control finally and fully the elections, they're going to do it electronically. That's why I was predicting that they were going to do an electronic election this time. They've already set up the post office to be, they've got a blockchain process run by the post office to run an electronic election. They didn't roll it out this time. And I really did think at the beginning of this lockdown that that was going to be the plan. They were going to lock everybody down, make you work and go to school through your little internet portal, make you vote through your internet portal. So why didn't they do it this time? That was the thing that surprised me. I think they did it because they want this chaos. They want this to run a long time, and they want you to beg for electronic elections. I think that's why we're seeing this being done. I think that's why we're being fed stories about trust the plan. This is all just a sting operation. Yeah, it is a sting operation, and the con is being run on you. They're going to get you begging for an electronic voting, and we have seen this being used the easiest way to keep a dictator in office. I've talked about this in Venezuela, Smartmatic and Hugo Chavez and his friends who set this up. They can rig every single election across the country, and they can go from president to dog catcher, and they can rig everything, and they can do it very, very easily from a central location, like the CIA or something. That's my conspiracy theory. They want to beg you, they want to get you begging for a trustworthy electronic voting system.
Wow. There you go, Mitchell. Your video has been played. Let me put you back on the big screen here. All right, you're back live on air and scratching your neck. And I don't know if you can hear me. Stop scratching. You're live on the show here. You gotta unmute yourself there. Unmute thyself.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, loud and clear.
Okay, so basically,
you gotta mute thyself over there. Good job.
Okay. Now I was scratching my neck and scratching my. I like David Knight, but I disagreed with him in terms of Jack Pasevich, because when you hear about a sting operation, he was talking about how Trump has it's the art of the deal. These people think they're getting away with it, but they're not going to get away with it. Like I said, I'm very concerned because I don't want a civil war, and I worry about America's division and radical terrorizing that is going on. Yet I know that the Patriot side, because there's too many of us, and there's too many Trump supporters, and there's got, like I said, Trump's got 250 generals standing by, and there is no allegiance to Biden, especially who wants to be on the side of a pedophile.
Remember one thing though.
Nobody does.
No, I understand that, and I'm completely with you. But remember, nasty Nancy Pelosi said that they were going to get him out of the White House, kicking and screaming if they had to, with the authorities. Now, I wouldn't put it past her to have some people on her side in law enforcement. There is always corruption everywhere, who might want to do something crazy like that. That worries me a little bit, because we know how much she hates Donald Trump. I mean, it's clear as day. And not only her, the left are completely hell-bent on destroying this man. That's another thing that worries me. It's the safety of this person, because of how not only the media has reacted, by the brainwashing and the payoffs I'm sure that's gone on, but by the sheer hatred the people that are running the show from behind the scenes have for Donald Trump, where his actual safety could be, in danger. I know that he has Secret Service. He has agents that are going to be surrounding him. Probably for the rest of his life, his family are going to have agents. But I mean, I don't put it past anybody to get suicided in this day and age.
Let me tell you something. Antifa, now the globalists and the scheme is very twisted. They
exactly
have now
yeah.
given the go. I'm sorry.
I said exactly. Yeah, they're very twisted.
Now they have a I guess a confirmation to go to Trump now, Antifa and these radical leftists, to try and take over the White House and attack the White House and destroy the White House. We are seeing a revolution here. We're seeing these are radical revolutionaries that they've unleashed. The globalists basically stole the election, and they don't care if it's right in front of your faces, folks, because you know what? They are going to unleash their radical militants and their radical Antifa more than ever before. So Trump needs to be prepared for that. And how is Trump going to stop that? He's going to have to use the military. He has to use the police. He's got to use all the patriots involved. Stand back and stand by. Bottom line, why do you think he said that?
No,
he knows.
I know that, but that's the now we're talking about definite civil war. Remember, once January and the inauguration of the presidency happens, he as things stand now, if you want to believe that he lost a rigged election, he wouldn't be the president anymore. So he wouldn't have, as commander-in-chief, the power to say anything to anybody militarily to help him. Now it'd be, the coup, you could look at it now in the other direction. If the military says, we're sticking with Trump, then he will look like a dictator, and they'll see, aha, you see? But here's the kicker. The left has been saying that, he would never concede the election. Well, of course, if it's rigged, but didn't Hillary just say a few weeks ago to Joe Biden not to concede under any terms, not to concede the election? And these are from people that haven't conceded since 2016, and now they're going to start seeing it. They're saying, you see, Trump will not concede the election. Well, cry me a flippin' river when your own, wannabe president Hillary Clinton was telling the now wannabe elect president Joe Biden not to concede the election by no means. Just a few weeks back, a few months ago. I mean, this is on video. I'm not making this stuff up. So when you see the hypocrisy from the media, from the left, from the Clintons, from the Bidens, from even the post offices who are, I mean, a lot of these people have to be complicit in this. I mean, this could be a giant RICO act at the end of the day. This could be one giant, conspiracy that, stems many, many months to get to the bottom to. And if that's the case, this is what really worries me about his safety, is because we're almost at the end of 2020 and 2021 is right around the corner. What the hell could possibly happen?
Look at this. This is what I'm also concerned about. This is a communist takeover, a radical Marxist takeover.
Right.
This is not democratic politicians. This is radical. We have lists. Democratic politicians call for the political persecution of Trump followers. Think about that. The political prosecution. The guillotines are out already for Trump supporters, and apparently blacklists are being made as we break it down. This is from InfoWars 2020 election countdown, Take Back America. This is, like I said, a complete takeover. Trump won this, a landslide victory. As I said before, Angel, it's very simple. You see the numbers. 60,000, 10. Empty cars. This is rigged elections. This is a fraud beyond we've never seen before from a pedophile, demonic henchman who's in bed with the Chinese Communist Party. Basically, it's a Trojan horse. Biden is the Trojan horse, and the Chinese Communist Party is inside the Trojan horse. Now he's the president of the United States, and now we will be taken over by Chinese communism. And everything that Trump has done will be dismantled, and anyone who speaks up against what they're doing will be taken down, will be burnt alive in terms of Facebook and Twitter, cancel culture, bank accounts. It's crazy. We're turning into more than socialism, a communist country, to dismantle the Constitution and destroy people. Blacklists for Trump supporters, stealing elections like this, criminal intent. Now, Trump's going to definitely have to put the hammer, the nail in the coffin, because these people are venomous, they're vicious, they're vengeful, and they've stolen the election from a winner. And he has won. He won 3 days ago. He won on November 3rd. A landslide. All the Republican senators, if you see the map of the United States, everything is red, maybe 2 or 3 spots. But the entire map, 95% of the map,
it was a sea of red. Yeah, it's a sea of red. But I'm telling you, Mitchell, what could he possibly do? I mean, that's the question. Again, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he does anything, the media is going to be like, "Aha, dictator."
That's fine.
If he doesn't do anything and he just concede, then we might have some issues here where he could be in trouble. Not only legally, because they're going to come after him just with nonsense to try to stop him at any chance, but with his actual well-being as a human being. I'm worried about him.
Okay, Angel. If I was Trump in Trump's shoes, I would not concede, and I will be full force now to release all damning evidence on and just put it out there as best as I can. But the unfortunate part is that you have so much stacked against him, the big tech giants, the international bankers, George Soros. You got the radical left, you got the fake news media. I mean, you got the deep state in all the intelligence agencies. But I think and I feel if I was Trump, I would gain together, as I said, stand back and stand ready. Stand back and stand ready is Broken Arrow. I mean, Broken Arrow is unleash the fumes, unleash heaven, because Trump has to lead the army if he has to lead the army and take command of the army as the commander-in-chief, the army will follow him, the police will follow him, ICE will follow him, the 60,000 strong patriots of every rally will follow him, and these are serious patriots. These are not Antifa and radical thug losers that dress up and try to terrorize people's homes, and they're not patriots. Like I said, this is civil war. This is the beginning of a civil war. I shit you not. I mean, I don't know what else I could tell you guys, but this is beyond more There's never going to be another election until a great disaster hits us, and here it is. Welcome to the party, pal. The bottom line. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that Trump must not concede, and to the death, patriots have to defend the republic, because this is DEFCON 7. This is DEFCON 5, ladies and gentlemen. We're in it. And there's no turning back. Like I said, it's a point of no return. I think that storing up on food, on ammunition, like I told you, getting to know your neighbors. I always say that on my shows. Start to prepare, because this will create a civil war, because they're waiting for Trump not to concede, and then they will unleash their radical militants in a way we've never seen before, burning cities, destroying, killing any Trump supporter they can get their hands on, because they're going to have so much anger. They're going to go into people's houses and start to take Trump supporters, blacklist them, and kill them, and torture them, and guillotine them. All right, and this is going to go on. And we got 2 months. This is 2 months. I don't think we got even a month. I mean, this shit hits now, and I mean they're radical, and they want to destroy and kill, and Trump has to unleash the military. He has to, and people, 250 generals. It's a whole. This is a coup. They want to take.
But here's the thing: who's going to?
How do you stop a coup?
Exactly. Who do you send the generals to? That's the question. Yeah, but the war against who exactly? I mean, who are we fighting? Remember, we know who some of the players are. But I mean, what are we going to do? Go in and arrest them?
Yes, exactly. Arrest them and expose them for who they are, and full throttle unleash hell on them.
I understand that, but we're talking about billionaires and billionaires fighting billionaires and billionaires with more billions in their disposal. I mean, this is we're talking about something that's going to end up turning into the Avengers Endgame. At the end of the day,
Exactly.
where it's like, and it's a reverse. You know, like Trump is going to be like Thanos, like and instead of bad, it's going to be the good guys. With all the Avengers coming at him, and they all look like Pelosi, Schumer, Soros, and it's just a bunch of like evil Avengers coming at a good guy. I mean, this is it looks disastrous. But I mean, if you're gonna go towards a legal battle, the way to do it really is what Giuliani says is very smart, which is going through the states and through the courts when it comes to the voting. But if you're talking about actually arresting people, that's going to be a little bit tougher because you got to show intent, malice, and we're talking about possibly hundreds and hundreds of people that might be involved in this. This is a giant RICO act, but this takes months and months to put together.
But Angel, at this point, it doesn't even really matter because even though it goes, people are not going to believe it. They don't care. The fake news media will never stand for it, and so they'll incite more hatred, they'll incite more anger, and they'll incite more violence. So there's no. How are you going to defend from these radicals? You've already seen what they've done to the cities, and are doing to more cities, and now they have even a more reason to defend, to destroy, and plunder, and scapegoat, just like the communist Red Guards and just like the Nazi brown shirts did, and we're going to become like Venezuela. We're going to become like Cuba. I mean, it's really, really bad. So they have to stop it. And if we have to go to civil war, so be it. The Patriots will win the war and reclaim America, and they're going to arrest Joe Biden because they've got all the criminal activity. People are going to be arrested. They have to. But how are we going, or how is this going to play out? I don't know.
No,
It's really hectic. It's really crazy. Who are you going to go to war with? I know, North and South, it doesn't work like that anymore. But what's going to happen? If anything, I would not concede. I would mobilize the military. I would mobilize the police, and I would put out the fire. I would mobilize the militias and go after any Black Lives Matter or really violent thugs that go out and burn and loot. Not that want to peacefully protest, but who go out there and hurt and harm. Unleash the police, unleash the military, unleash the army if you have to do it. But then you become a dictator. But it's not a dictator to hurt and harm. It's a leader. You have to save your republic. Thugs. And the people want that.
By the way, not to cut you off, Mitchell, but we're joined by Vic, who wanted to join the conversation here. He's a longtime supporter. Vic the Condor himself. Vic, can you hear us?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, my friend? How you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining the show here.
What's going on, Vic Condor? I love that name,
man.
Vic Condor, brother. That's great.
We gotta do little things around here, So,
yes.
So what? Trump lost?
Man, let me tell you, it's not looking good, and it's not looking like it's gonna be something that we're gonna be able to celebrate a victory over, and it's all because, again, this is an orchestrated event meant for him to lose, and this is something that we've been talking about for a long time, that we've been fearing that this is going to be concocted by the media. We've been told by our sources and just by looking at reports that this was going to happen, and right now from all the media outlets, the big names like the CNNs of the world, they're all reporting that Joe Biden is the winner, but Trump has not conceded the election yet. Which, again, like I said earlier, why would he concede an election which is clearly rigged, stolen, and not only that, but where we had just like I said weeks ago, we had Hillary Clinton say to Joe Biden, "Don't concede under any circumstance." Look, you don't. It doesn't take a Mitchell Kaku to see what's going on here. That this is definitely a rig job by the left. I mean, you don't have to be a Scientologist or a scientist or climatologist or some autistic girl from Switzerland to understand the facts here. This is as pure as night and day. This is a fraud on the election process, on the voters, on the United States, and on our way of life and our freedoms. And this is the left, their final attempt to really take over. And you can see that it's a complete nonsense because, look at all the support and all the ground that the Republicans made when it comes to like the House and the Senate, where there is an overwhelming amount of wins on that part. But yet, the presidency has this issue. So is this going to reflect on those other campaigns? What's your thought there, Vic? What do you think?
I think it's totally disrespectful for the whole situation of people voting in a corrupt situation. Donald Trump said that, what did he say? It doesn't matter who you vote for, but who's counting the votes, eh?
Correct. Yeah, and if you're in a process where you're supposed to be allowing people to witness the vote count, and then you don't allow them, and then you don't think that's a fraud or fraudulent behavior, I mean, how blind does the media think that everybody is?
Well, I think it's really disrespectful for the whole situation of what Donald Trump's had to go through. Let alone that, like, Donald Trump's kind of like talked a lot of bullshit to a certain degree, but you know what? He's like proven his work ethic and what have you. The thing is like they tried to impeach him, so it took up all these investigations and all this impeachment and stuff like that, and now we got the pandemic for like another year.
Yep.
I think he's really been hindered, and he hasn't really had like a good level of his administration, basically. I think it's really disrespectful for all the Democrats not to, help America and try to work with the Republicans, but it seems like there's like some sort of situation where they want to, hinder the Republicans all the time, and the Republicans don't have any love for the Democrats. So I think it's really a broken situation. Donald Trump's walked into a bad room, a stinky room, but he did stand up to the Europeans. He stood up to other people, and it's unfortunate. I don't think any of this is fair. If they did really want to do it again, if he could do it again, I'd say let's do a recount. The whole goddamn nation.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. Not only a recount. You know what? I'm actually pushing for this, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm talking about a complete redo of the votes, and only in person. And you know what? If you're overseas because you're a Marine or you're a military person, there's ways to get people out there to see you that you can get your vote counted. But you know what? Enough of this BS, this Kung Flu nonsense. Enough of this lockdown nonsense. If people are really serious, let's get this and redo the vote, because I'm telling you, there's clear corruption in this election process, and I know that we all have a lot to say. Kaiser, who has a show on PSN Radio with myself, who wants to get in. So stay right there, Vic. Don't go anywhere. Let me see if I can get him on the call here also, and add him to the conversation. By the way, it's awesome having you on video, man. I haven't seen you before on video, but you and I go way back, so it's good to see you live and letting your voice be heard, brother.
Hey, salute, brother.
Let me get our good friend Kaiser on the line here. I know he's chopping at the bits too because I see him. He's been like, add me, add me, add me. I'm sure he has a lot to say. Kaiser, hopefully you're live and clear.
Yeah, I read you loud and clear, brother. Buddy, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, what do you think? I haven't had much to sleep in the last 4 or 5 days. And yourself?
Oh, I've been monitoring. I'm still not worried, man. It's going to court. And I liked what your last guest was saying, if he's still on the line. I agree with him. Have your preps ready, because you know that the lawless Antifa is going to be out there protesting. It's going to get live. This has already been planned. Everybody forgets two things. The Election Integrity Project, when they did the Red Mirage, this thing was spelled out. Operation Red Mirage. They executed their plan perfectly. And so there's intent. This is done willingly and criminally. And they're trying to steal an election. That's a fact. I mean, you look at how they did. If you're being open and you want everything out in the open, I did do a job for Democracy International, and I saw how it was done. A reporter, Trish DeGennaro, and Mike Seiner, who is the mayor of Charlottesville, may still be, I don't know. They were my clients. And for an open election in Afghanistan, this one, in several states, they weren't allowing poll watchers in. My people could go in, and they would talk to the poll watchers that were Afghans, and any irregularities were reported. It's not that really it's a long story on the whole process, but I've seen how this bacon's made. And if you're trying to be open and honest in an election, in the area I was in, which was Panjshir River Valley, if it's being held openly and honestly, you're not trying to hide. In certain areas that other people who were doing security, bodyguarding people, they had more problems.
Mm-hmm.
But, you're going to have that from state to state. But the thing is, the nation, and I really got angry when Alex Jones and Steve Pacimic, I don't know even what's going through his mind, is saying that they had watermarked ballots and shit like that. That's not reality. It was never reality. Each state makes their own damn ballots. And maybe if they bought the paper from the government, but they can choose who the vendor is for their paper. So it's just ridiculousness.
Guys, let me tell you, like I said before, this is far above and far over the line than ballots and elections. They outright stole the elections. We know that as patriots. The Trump supporters know this as patriots. You have seen the Hunter Biden scandal. It's corruption to the fullest. He's raping and pedophilia. I mean, it's really, really sick and twisted shit that these people are behind. And Trump now needs to go to war with Biden and with the radical left. I mean, put out the fire. And he made it clear: stand back and stand by. He's called to arm the militias, the Proud Boys. It's on. I don't see any other way. And you said, Kaiser, you're right. As soon as you started the conversation, that Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all these other radical so-called militias are they're not even militias, because militia is constitutional value. But these radical leftists are going to really up the ante. But as I said before, they've shown their power, they've shown their cards, they've shown their firepower. But the patriots and the Trump supporters and the Republic have not shown theirs yet. And that's about to commence. And it has to. Unfortunately, it has to, because these people have gone too far. And there's no return. So I don't see any other way.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. Because I did work for the federal government, and I kind of know U.S. law. First off, I would never say to do something, because that's an issue. But I understand the sentiment. Do everything legally. The only time, look, if people do something, here's the reality of it. They'll be arrested. I work normally in shitholes, in places where there is no rule of law, okay? And that's why I'm able to work and do what I do. Here's the issue. If you do it while there's still rule of law, you're just going to have a bunch of patriots in prison. That's what's going to happen. And that's just the reality of it. So but there will be stupid. Hold on, there will be stupid people that will do that and will go to jail.
Right.
But when they start arresting in mass one specific type of person, there'll be an outcry from the public. Then police will even be disgusted because they're hand-tied. They can't do what they're doing. And police only have authority, this coming from a former police guy, the police will walk off their jobs or just be like, whatever. And then you get a society without rule of law, WROL. That is the time that you have an obligation to protect your neighborhood. And a sheriff, all sheriffs can bypass that completely.
Guys, you got to understand also, if the mayors and governors of some of these cities have allowed for months and months and months Antifa and Black Lives Matter to riot and burn cities down in their own cities, do you not think that they're not going to be ready for something like that? I mean, and do you not think that they're going to flip this around? And if anybody on Trump's side starts any kind of shit, that they're not going to go directly after and arrest these people and blame everything on that side? Like if they've been the one burning and looting and doing. I mean, that's what's going to end up happening. They allowed it on one side, but they're going to go completely and arrest everybody that's pro-Trump. This has been the agenda from the beginning. Allow the destruction and the chaos and the mayhem to happen from the left and turn a blind eye. And I seen it happen the moment that anybody shut up, even if there was no violence caused by the Proud Boys, for example, where they were standing around just making sure that things didn't get burnt down. They were called white supremacists, and they were saying that they were the ones that were causing the mayhem, and it was total bullshit. I saw the videos. None of them did anything wrong. They didn't shoot anybody. They didn't burn anything down. They were there trying to save infrastructure, save people's businesses, and make sure nobody got hurt. But what happened? The media blamed them, called them white supremacists. When you call somebody a white supremacist and your leader is a black Cuban, I'm sorry. There's a little bit, maybe I'm wrong about this, but maybe it's racist. It's something these people have a problem with because they don't understand what white and supremacy and white supremacists, when you put it together, what that means and who that symbolizes. And then nowhere are we talking about the Proud Boys, are they any white supremacists? But yet they got labeled as such just because they're pro-Trump.
It's a disconnect from reality, guys.
Correct.
But that's what they'll do. The Election Integrity Project, folks, read it. Glenn Beck even did a special on it.
Yep.
Read it. Read what the Red Mirage was, and you'll understand. Everything Angel just said is true. And notice they want to have a truth and reconciliation thing. They did this in South Africa.
Yep.
And look at South Africa today. And it's about getting even. There's nothing about truth and reconciliation. It's about you're gonna pay now, motherfucker.
Yep.
That's what this is about.
Kaiser, like I was saying before, this is the takeover of the United States. This is a dismantling of the constitutional laws, the traditional values, the nuclear family, ridding us of the Second Amendment, canceling our culture, forcing fear into our American universities, and radicalism and communism and Marxism and the so-called suppression of black people, and therefore radicalizing them against innocent white people and black people by burning their businesses down. And then you have Carl Wittenhouse, a hero in my book, who went to defend American-owned businesses, and with Molotov cocktails were thrown at him. The police did nothing in these democratic, and shame on these guys, but they have no support from their mayors, and that's why the police, 250 generals of the United States armed military, support Trump. And there is a coup that's going on right now, gentlemen.
Right.
This is DEFCON 5.
But again, you forgetting one thing, and I'm going to reiterate this. Come January and re-election, it's over with, or elections are over with. Come January and the inauguration happens, Trump is no longer the commander in chief if this is, completely taken as a. It doesn't matter if he concedes at this point. If they completely remove him from office, as far as the election process goes, and everybody goes with the narrative that he's no longer the president, and the power is taken completely away and given to Biden, he has no power over the military. It doesn't matter if he goes to courts. No, but what happened? No, but what happened is you're gonna have President Pelosi. That's how this works.
No, that's not the constitutional way this happens.
But it's a nightmare. But it's an American nightmare if it happens.
No, that's no. That's
no, yes,
of government.
Yeah, no, but it'll be a nightmare if it happens. I'm just saying it would be if it ever did happen. And then, hold on, Kaiser, hold on. I know where you're going, but as a comedy, as a joke, if it ever was to happen, it'll be an American nightmare. Continue.
No. You don't.
Nancy Pelosi as president is not an American nightmare.
That's
just
continuity of
dude, hold on a second. Hold on, you're telling me that Nancy Pelosi as president is not an American nightmare? Come on, that's comedy.
Not hearing me.
I understand what you're saying. You're not hearing me. I'm saying that as a joke. I'm saying that as a joke.
Using two separate things.
No, you're confused, Kaiser.
Okay.
Hold on, dude. I'm saying that as a joke. And you're taking it as a serious thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was. Sorry, buddy.
That's why you have to shut up for a second and let me speak when I'm saying something.
Here's what it is.
Remember, this is still my show. This is not Kaiser Talk Radio. You're on my show, so you let me talk, then I'll let you talk.
If you were President Trump, what would you do?
I would stay and fight, not concede, go to the courts. He's doing everything he has to do. If he can pull this out, remember Bush v. Gore. This is case law, settled case law. And it's going to be the same. This is identical, and they wanted this to try to make him illegitimate. This was the whole design of this. And he goes to the courts. Any scenario, first they'll kick out ballots, which I do believe they're going to do, because the way they did it was so fucking convoluted. Not having both sides there to watch, that's actually anti-constitutional. That's not the way that a vote goes in the United States. That's how it goes in banana republics. But if it goes all the way down to when they have to seat electors, okay, the Electoral College, if it goes past that date, at a date, I believe it's December 20th, 17th, 13th, 17th, or 20th. I can't remember the exact date. The Constitution calls for it. What will happen is the sitting, i.e., because Congress and the Senate have not been sworn in yet, the sitting electors from the Senate, they decide who the electors are, and it's Republican held.
Yeah, but Kaiser, what I'm asking you.
Pelosi.
But what I'm asking you is we're beyond that. That's there's no time for that anymore. What are you going to do with the radical left that will not believe that? They don't care about the Constitution. That's what I'm saying. All I see is civil war. So how do you stop that? How do you stop that?
That's a fait accompli, but it's a war at doorbell level. This is the problem that everybody who has a sticky, wet masturbational fantasy, and I talk about it on my show all the time, of civil war, usually haven't been to war zones. They haven't gone to a war. They don't know what it looks like. And the Civil War actually starts out with retribution killings. You said something about my wife, so I'm going to blow your head off. I ring your doorbell and I fucking blow your head off. That's the reality of what a civil war looks like. This is not going to be people lining up and shooting each other like in our old Civil War.
You got to remember one thing, though, guys. We're talking about a radical takeover of people. Also, they come from an area that's been in war for a long time in the Middle East, and there are a large part of that is behind the scenes doing what's going on right now. This is no secret that you look at Congress and who's infiltrated Congress over the last 5-10 years, but people from the Middle East like Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, or whatever her name is. A lot of these Muslims that have gotten into positions of power, and I'm not a xenophobe. I don't hate Muslims or anybody for the religious beliefs, but I do understand where there's radicalism in the Muslim community, and they're in position to make powerful decisions in this country, and where we're looking at in areas that are problematic for this election. We're looking at, again, people within the Muslim community, like Keisha Bottoms and a lot of these people that are Muslims, and they're radicalized leftist, and that's the people that are causing the issues. And these people come from backgrounds and connections from countries that have been at war and blow themselves up for the good of jihad and the good of whatever Muslim Brotherhood or whatever it is they want to concoct on the rest of the world. And they don't take no for an answer. I have video of people talking about this, 10, 15, 20 years ago from the Muslim community saying they're not interested in just taking over and assimilating into America. Their purpose is to abolish America and take over this country and turn everybody Muslim. So this is this agenda that's been going on for 15, 20 years. Why do you think we're seeing more and more radical Muslims, not only in Congress and position of power, but in sports, within the Black Lives Matter, it's all Muslim driven. Antifa, a lot of Muslim people in there, also a lot of people from the alphabet community, a lot of self-hating white people in there that are, young and dumb, that have been radicalized from colleges, that are radicalized from high schools that have been radicalized. I mean, this is an infrastructural Trojan horse that's been taking place for the last 20 years. And it started during the Bush administration right after 9/11. We forget what happened in 9/11, I think, because unless I'm mistaken, it was not exactly the cleanest, job by an American organization. There was a lot of Muslims and a lot of people from the Middle East involved with taking those towers down. In fact, I remember the terrorists were all of Muslim descent, or were all radical jihadists, exactly. And again, radical jihadists, they don't care about law. They don't care about your religious beliefs. They blow themselves up, people, for their beliefs. So this is what's taking over. And you think Joe Biden is going to be leading with Kamala Harris? And these people are connected to the Obamas? Do you really think that they're not connected to the Muslim Brotherhood that is connected to a lot of these oligarchs in the Middle East? These people take war as a living. This is their career. So the fact... Go ahead, Kaiser.
Biden will placate them. So look, here's the thing. You know the thing. And so is your guest. This radical Islamic.
You're all my guests.
That's. I know that. I'm saying the other guy. I don't know his name.
We got Mitchell and we got Mitchell and we got Vic on the line.
But you've had me on your show talk about communist China and the Falun Gong. I thank you for that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bad memory.
Yeah. I was just going to say to you, Kaiser. Kaiser, how do you? Because you're not going to stop the radical left, especially if and I agree with you. He cannot concede Trump because he clearly won the election. But the thing is that how are you going to stop the radical left? Because you remember when Trump said stand back and stand by. How do you interpret that? How would you, as an ex-Marine and you're never an ex. I mean, you're a police officer. You serve the country, and thank you. God bless you. How are you going to stop the radical left? Because they're going to get even more radical. Because Trump won't concede. He cannot concede. I mean, it's to say, if he doesn't concede, the whole entire republic collapses. I mean, that's how it's finished. I mean, so how do you see us stopping the left? How do you see us stopping these? Because they're going to start burning cities down. So how do you stop that now? How?
There's an easy way, and the left's very good at doing it. Doxing, and but it's criminal to do it. It's criminal to do it. But doxing is a way, and we know where it comes from. It comes from academia. in several different places. Trump's already shut that down. The Chinese Confucian schools.
Can I ask you a question,
Yeah.
Kaiser? Could Trump, like Broken Arrow in the military, can Trump direct an emergency executive order to maintain the military and I don't know. I mean, is there anything in the Constitution where, for example, because this is a takeover, I mean, Biden in bed with the Chinese communists are trying to destroy the republic, take over the republic. So what can he do?
He
beside
can
the
invoke
courts?
he's got to go through the courts and do it legally anyways, but he can invoke the Insurrection Act if
Okay.
it does go, and he can tie it back to Biden, and then he'd also have to have proof, which he does have. It's a conspiracy because of one reason. They did a whole thing, the Election Integrity Project and the Red Mirage, and the Red Mirage was executed perfectly.
Yes.
And so once they start getting violent in the streets over this, and it's still going through the courts about the outcome, even though the news media can call it, I could call it too and say Trump wins, and I'm more honest than anybody in the mainstream media. I mean, honestly, we can do that, but it has that same amount of weight as what the press did. And they're just trying to shape the narrative and public opinion. That's all that's happening at this point.
Well, Kaiser, what I was going to share with you is that I fear that this legal process of securing back the election is going to take more time, and the Biden demonic scumbag as he is in the bed with the Chinese communists are going to pack the courts or bribe judges and prolong the case. And while they do that, they're going to start dismantling everything that Trump is putting together. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I don't see it going well.
No, they can't. Here's the thing.
I hope not, but they're so corrupt.
Hey, can I throw down on this?
Yeah, throw down, bro.
Please do. It's so corrupt.
So situation I want to run by Kaiser is this. Do you remember 1993?
Yeah, I remember 1993. I got out of the Marine Corps in 92. So what's up with that?
Well, that does, the thing that maybe it's a little bit earlier than that, but let's just say like Waco and those towers that got, or that one, what Timmy Begg did.
Yeah, exactly.
So like these people are fucking crazy, and I think they're gonna like this is gonna set people off. They're gonna set them off. Right.
But when you guys forget, though, the media is paid off, gentlemen, and the media controls the narrative in this country.
I don't forget that at all.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be another one of those where like the Democrat gets in, which is called Bill Clinton, and then other shit's going to happen. Hopefully, it does not.
Well, as I remember this. Ruby Ridge was under Bush. Clinton finished that one off, and they vilified Randy Weaver, and Randy Weaver got paid. So did his daughter, the survivors of the Ruby Ridge incident. So the government, that's a whole thing. That's color of law. It's a whole different set of laws that came into play.
Well,
and
those people don't know about that.
Took years.
They're acting now.
But
the
Matter.
point, I understand that. The point you're trying to say, and I understand that. They started this vilification when Trump came in. And just like Charlottesville was a complete setup, and it was to push a narrative. Trump's a racist.
Yes.
And that's a fact. And so they've already started this narrative. And that's why I said it's nonsense when they call the Proud Boys a racist organization, because it absolutely isn't. Their head, quote unquote, is an African Cuban African American.
Very racist.
That makes no sense unless he's racist against white people, which is possible. There are blacks that don't like whites.
Let me ask you a question, Kaiser.
Yeah.
Sorry, your point. To your point first.
Well, my final point about that is the narrative will be shaped by the press. They're scumbags. They're dirtbags. They're all paid off. We all know this. But the point is, you have to act when you have to act. And it's only in self-defense that you can justify, unless
Exactly.
and this is the problem, unless the sheriff, the sitting elected sheriff of your county, deputizes the men and or women of his county, then you can act under color of law and you have somebody you have to answer to. So it's not you're arbitrarily going out and exercising violence, because that's the key. If you exercise violence over political means, that is by definition terrorism.
Well, I tell you right now, the deployment of the National Guard in 12 different states by Trump. But I was wondering a question, since you've been in the military, do you think if it came to really defending the cities from terrorist thugs, because they are terrorists, domestic terrorist groups, Black Lives Matter, radical Antifa, and God knows who else, that Trump can deploy the military?
Yeah, he can, but it's not like they can go round them up. He can deploy them to, protect buildings, make federal arrests, the Marshal Service. He has all different kinds of options on the plate. But see, a sitting sheriff, if he's being overwhelmed, can deputize the locals.
And hold on, let me stop you right there, because I was hoping you would go right back to that point, Kaiser, because we've had a call from the radical left to defund the police, and who are going to protect these cities. I think part of the plan is to give power to Sharia law and people from the left who are going to be deputized, because there is going to be a lot of police officers, and we've seen already a lot of them that have retired early, that are completely fed up with what's going on. They don't want to be police officers in these cities anymore, in these states that are heavily Democratic. So they're leaving the force at record numbers. So who's the ones that are going to be roaming the streets? The very enemies that were burning the cities down before. And that is another major problem.
If that happens, then those sheriffs will be responsible for deputizing insurgents. See, that's the problem, because they are willing to use force at will and at a whim. And whereas somebody from the quote-unquote right, I hate the false right-left paradigm,
wow,
but somebody who has actual judgment and justice in their mind and executes it to the letter of the law, as is the law in that state, whatever state that is, and they don't go above and beyond it, and they're held accountable by the sheriff if they screw up, and they do like what Antifa does, arbitrarily beat old ladies and kids and pepper spraying them. As long as those people act in a just and justified manner, and they can articulate, they can articulate the situation. You have to have articulable facts, the escalation of force. You have to understand all these principles of it. And me being in the National Guard, I was deployed a couple of times. One for a flood and one for like a little protest or whatever. It was nothing. It was a peaceful one, but we had the
maybe you'll be
out.
deployed again. Maybe you'll be deployed again.
No. I'm not in the National Guard. I'm a private soldier. This is what I do for a living.
That was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Well, Kaiser, I think it's right, but I think it's just about the barbarians are at the gate, my friend. So be prepared, be ready.
Oh, I am.
Hey, can I say one thing?
Look lively, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Look lively, Sergeant.
Go ahead, Vic.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, thanks a lot. The thing is like the point I was making about 1993 was that there's like some sort of situation where people got like a little overzealous about the situations. You got these people that are like total Trump supporters.
Right.
And they're driving down the roads with the flags and what have you. And a lot of people are going to be like depressed, like severely depressed. And a lot of them are going to put down the flags. But I think Trump, like he put the situation in there where it's like a, I don't know, like a, something that people are going to like be like, hey, yeah, remember back in 2020, you know, and what we did and what happened there? Let's not forget about it. But there's going to be some little bit of psychos. But I don't know what's going to happen with the Democratic situation.
Well,
They're
gentlemen,
probably going to fail to a certain degree. But I'd like to get off the line here, and I'd like to say, hey, Lionheart, keep on doing your shows and keep them up. Kaiser, I like your show as well, and salute, Angel. So, boom, boom.
Yeah, bro, Victor.
Vic the Condor himself.
Victor Condor, man.
Yeah.
I was just going to get off the mic, but I was going to tell you, gentlemen, God be with you, Godspeed, because we're going into a dark winter. We've never seen something like this before, and it's just right, under our eyes. And the shocking thing is that it's a Trojan horse. Biden is a Trojan horse to get into, bring the communist specter even closer into destroying the republic, and that won't happen under Trump. Trump can't let that happen. So I wish you well in these next couple of months, because yeah.
The Trojan horse was sprung a long time ago, and thanks Mitchell for joining the show, and Vic, thank you also for being a part of the broadcast today, and make yourself more part of the PSN family, man. You're always welcome to call in and join in on the fun, and it's going to be a fun year coming up in 2021 from all the things that we've seen so far, huh?
And Kaiser, thanks a lot for having me on your show, and God bless you. And yeah, Angel, it's a pleasure. Thanks for I don't know. It's a very interesting time now, gentlemen, and I'm not sure where it's going to lead. I hope not to anything disastrous, but I think we're heading to that point, because
I hope there's no violence.
I would have thought, when that hit the 270 with Biden so-called legally having the presidency, I worried a little bit, because I was like, no, these people are going to they've stolen the election, and now Trump's going to do the right thing and get it back to the courts, and he will win it, of course, but they will never accept that. So what is their reaction? What is their response to that? And the defensive tactic of, stopping people from insanely radical, like burning things down. Oh well, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Well, God bless America, and God bless you all.
You too.
Thank you, Vic. Thank you, Mitchell, for joining in. And take care, guys. Have a good night, and good day wherever you might be on this very ominous November 7th. Kaiser, I know you're still there, and my goodness, man, this is a crazy, wacky week, isn't it? I think you're still muted there, brother. Gotta unmute the button.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Got it. Yeah. I was muted. Sorry, man.
It happens.
I wish they would have stayed on, because I wanted to edify them with a quick story. And if they're listening, they can hear it. Around that time with Waco and seeing the injustice that happened, it really angered me. And then I met Randy Weaver. It was around the time of Y2K. And there was a guy I knew by the name of Christopher Nurgis. My brother and I, not physical brother, but brother in war. He's former Special Forces guy. We're going to this Y2K preparedness event, and I knew one of the speakers. His name was Christopher Nurgis. And then I met Randy Weaver and Sheriff Mack, Constitutional Sheriffs of America, the head of it, back in the day. And that was after, Waco, Ruby Ridge, and all those abuses that had happened. And I really got worked up over it, and I said some things about Clinton and blah. And anyways, Christopher pulls me to the side. I'd met him out in Cali when I was stationed out there. He studied under Ewell Gibbons, and he has just a lot of really cool survival tips and stuff like that. Anyway, so I always suggest Christopher Nurgis, and he gave me the best advice. He pulls me to the side. He goes, Joe, are you gonna do something stupid, brother? And I looked at him and I said, why would you think that, man? Come on, you know me. And he goes, yeah, but listen to what you were saying and think about it. And I said, yeah, I know what I said. And I'm thinking back to it. And he goes, yeah, anybody standing around you would think that you're insane, that you're going to do something. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, you got a point there. And he did have a point. And he said, does he fuck your wife or does he pay your bills? Does Bill Clinton fuck your wife or pay your bills? I said, no. He goes, so why are you worried about it? He doesn't really impact your life physically. And you know what? I thought about it, and that's what got me through 8 years of Obama.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's my advice to everybody. I believe it's going to work out positively for Trump. You have to have some faith in something. You know, you can't. What's the old adage? Live in hope, die in despair. You know?
Yeah, one thing we also have to remember, if his life isn't suicided, and he makes it through the next 4 years as a regular civilian, he can legally run again in 4 years. So if I was removed from office by fraudulent fraud, as this is clearly what this is, fraudulent fraud, it's an oxymoron, but by fraud, if I was Trump, starting a year from now, maybe a little bit earlier, I would start my campaign for presidency in the next election cycle, and I would start, pumping out as much advertising. I would start, doing everything in my way as possible to make sure that the message is heard, and I would try to make Joe Biden's administration a living hell for the next 3.5, 4 years, just like they made Mr. Trump's administration as president for his 4 years. And if the Senate majority has cojones in the Senate, they would follow suit and they would reject everything that the crooked Congress left is cooking and trying to get passed, and really stand and fight through the courts and through the Senate, and not allow Joe Biden to get anything done for the next 4 years, just like they tried to do to Trump, because they tried and tried and tried, and they couldn't get anything done impeachment-wise. And in fact, you want to talk about impeachment-wise? If I know it has to go through the House and through the Senate, but I wonder if the Senate could do an impeachment inquiry directly in to Biden and continue the investigation, because I really would hate to see the entire William Barr investigation go bye-bye because of Biden being the president. He needs to be held accountable. And if I was Trump, I'd start immediately my campaign, and I will make this person's administration the living hell that made his administration for 4 years. And again, I go back to Congress. If I was Trump, make sure that they all become well aware that this is a war, but it's going to be a war fought by the voters and by the senators and by the people that are actually in position to make a difference, without having it to result into war in the streets, because I really don't want to see more bloodshed, people getting murdered, residents getting attacked for no reason. There's no need for any of that. People who want civil war and want riots and looting, I'm not with that. I'm with peaceful protesting, and I completely think that there should be a lot of that in the next 4 years. Show them how protesting is really done. If you guys really want to believe in protesting, go out and protest your hearts out, but don't burn and loot and destroy your infrastructure. Just show what protesting is done if you really believe in it. I'm all for that. As far as Trump, again, do it through the courts. Start announcing your campaign for election in 4 years. And you know what? Let's see what Biden does. And, if everything starts falling into the position that we think it's going to start going, where in a year or two we might have, Biden say, well, Kamala Harris is going to be the president, and they start doing the whole 25th Amendment thing, that is going to leave. I think it's going to leave a lot of people with their eyes wide open, saying, you know what, Trump was right. It's happening more and more as he said was going to happen, and I think in 4 years, it's going to be very hard to beat him if things are done legally. But again, we saw them rig it once, and if they have the power to do it, they could possibly do it again. Only if the players, like the senators and the players that are in the position to help, don't allow it to happen. But if they start selling out, which some of them already have been accused of, then we're lost, guys, and we're going to lose to a republic, to a very, very sad applause by the left. And this reminds me of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and the Phantom Menace
This is how a republic dies.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is how the republic dies,
applause.
with the thunderous applause by the left. And
Well-
Kaiser, get the last word, brother, because we're going to wrap this up in a little bit.
Oh, cool. But I didn't want the last word.
Well, for yourself, I'm gonna probably say a couple things at the end,
Cool.
because my ego is that big and it's my show.
I know it is. It's yours. It's your show. No, what I was trying to edify you with is here's what I do know.
You can edify me. Go for it. Edify away.
Right now, the Democrats are in full revolt on Nancy Pelosi. She's not going to be speaker. And it's the far left that's pushing it. And with some of the senators or Congress people, 2 of them female, that didn't get reelected, they directly blamed Pelosi for leaning to the far left. But see, they're too built into it now. So they're going to make a far leftist the speaker. That's going to happen.
AOC.
Yeah, they'll do with somebody. I don't know if it'll be her, but the thing is, once they do that, the American people will get fed up, and they'll lose more seats and probably flip the House. And the Senate didn't get flipped, so we still have the Senate. Now, they cannot bring impeachment charges, but what the Senate can do is keep investigating with their justice side of it. They can keep investigating Hunter Biden and Biden's ties to China at all. And if they tie it into Biden, then they can send it to DOJ. And even if it's a Biden DOJ, if the political will of the people is this guy needs impeached, he will have an impeachment because he'll be prosecuted. What he did actually was treason by selling his office to the Chinese, even indirectly. And that's a treasonous act. He colluded and conspired with an enemy to make profit. So, he used his office. There's all kinds of charges that he can get. Conspiracy, it's ad infinitum.
Yeah, but we gotta remember, just like they swept all this stuff under the rug when it was happening, if they have power and they have the right players behind the scenes, they can sweep every evidence under the rug that they come up with. And
no, they can't.
Well,
they can't, because if the Senate, which is held by Republicans,
I understand
have
that
a full-on investigation and compile facts, and law enforcement's all about facts. And if they compile it and they push it, the Justice Department will have to act. And then it'll be, if there is a problem, if he's convicted by, whatever, the Congress and everything, which that impeachment's not necessarily there, but a president can be arrested if it's factual. That's the thing, too. Don't get too excited. But if it's factual, the fact of the matter still lays that a sitting sheriff is the only person. It can't be the FBI. It can't be anybody but a sheriff, a elected law enforcement officer, and that's in all 50 states. Sheriffs of counties and sheriffs of parishes. This is fact. If a sheriff doesn't want the FBI or the ATF to operate in their county, guess what? They can't operate in their county. That's a fact. So that highest elected law enforcement officer will be the one who does the arrest. And that's a legitimate arrest. And then the trial will go on. If it's an issue, it'll go on through the federal courts. But I'm just saying that there's just it's so technical on this entire thing that unless you've been in LEO and had to understand certain parts of the law, and it's only happened, I think, 0 times in the U.S., but it follows the Constitution. There's always a constitutional remedy for everything, and that's all I was saying. But yeah, I'm white pilling. I'm not black pilling. The only thing I'm black pilling is everybody's worried. I say be prepared, be ready, but also don't. It's not a time to act. We got the courts to go through. And
Correct.
I believe the courts will come out on the side of Trump.
I'm hopeful. By the way, give everybody the show dates for your show, Kaiser's Talk Radio, Kaiser's Castle on PSN Radio, which follows another certain show, which is Inside Somebody's Head.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the aftermarket, the afterbirth of Inside the Jackal's Head. But the great part is, it's Castle Talk Radio only on PSN Radio. And then my channel is Sword Point, all lowercase, Sword Point, and the numeral 9. And it's on YouTube, it's on BitChute, it's on all the library, LBRY. And that's the show I do all by myself, and it sounds like it's all by myself, because I don't know shit about computers and such. And your thoughts, brother, and I'm out. I'll listen.
That's why I help you on your show, because while he's militarily sound, computers are not your best friend.
That is very correct.
We'll talk shortly, brother. I'm gonna get going here in a little bit, but thank you for joining in onto the show here for the last almost 3 hours, guys. We've been talking about the shenanigans that's been going on in the world of the election 2020, and this is not a common thing in this country. We've never seen an election like this. We've never seen a debacle quite like this, where days after this thing should have been called, and they're still counting votes in some areas till it's, I guess, 1,000%, because they didn't want to call it where they should have called it. When Trump is ahead, they don't want to call it. But some of the states, again, they called it way early because Biden was ahead. So when it's in their favor, they were calling it. When it's in Trump's favor, they weren't calling it. And again, the states that I knew were going to have the problems are the ones that are having the problems. Again, you don't have to be Michio Kaku or Stanton Friedman, rest in peace. You have to be a nuclear physicist or a rocket scientist to see the fixes in, and they're trying to take over our country. What Alex Jones has been warning us about, what Ben Shapiro has been talking about, Louder with Crowder, with myself, anybody who's been talking about this, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh. We've all been talking about this, for a long time. Candace Owens has been talking about this. Terrence William has been joking around about it on Twitter and Facebook, but he's been talking about it. The Hodge twins have been talking. I mean, there's a lot of people that have opened their eyes and have been talking about this as a possibility. And here it is. We're now at DEFCON 0 at the Event Horizon a few days ago, and it happened. And now we're possibly looking at a Biden-Harris administration, and that's a nightmare on anybody's streets. It should shake everybody to its core, because these are socialists, these are leftists, and these people will lead us right down the path that Germany was led to with Nazi Germany and Hitler, and right down the path that Cuba and Venezuela were led into. This is no different than that, folks. And unfortunately, for those who did vote, not understanding the reality of what they were voting for, and they voted for Biden and Harris, thinking that they were somehow going to magically make the world a great place, the joke is sadly on you, because it's never a good thing, socialism or communism. I tell you what, the first few months you're going to think, oh, it's not that bad. But then things are going to get gradually worse and worse and worse. And now they have a game plan on how to rig the big election. And they've concocted a win for Joe Biden. Folks, again, this is not something that is conspiracy anymore. This has become a fact. And our country is at risk. We did get lucky that we kept the Senate and they lost seats in the House. But at the end of the day, we lost possibly the presidency to a very corrupt leftist institution. And that, my friends, should scare everybody. Stay safe, stay sound, stay KungFlu free. And, let's hope for the best. And let's see what happens within the next couple of days. We're going to call it a night here or a day, wherever you may be. And hopefully the next time you see me, we have better news. But until then, this has been kind of an impromptu, broadcast because I, wasn't scheduled to go live when I did. But I wanted to get this whole thing with Rudy Giuliani on the air. And then I just started, talking. And next thing you know, I'm getting calls. And now we're 3 hours deep. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'll be live on tomorrow on my Inside Jackal's Head show on PSN Radio at 10 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, we have Kate's Around the Campfire with Kate, which I'm sure she's going to have a lot to say. And that starts at 8 p.m. on PSN Radio. We have Kaiser's Talk Radio 1 in the morning. Actually, midnight to 1, midnight to 1, Kaiser Talk Radio. And then 1 to 2 in the morning, we have Mitchell the Lionheart with Unleashed Truth Radio. So it's a packed house tomorrow on PSN Radio. So check that out, psn-radio.com. Of course, you can look me up every time you want to know what's the latest going on with me and the shows by checking out my website, angelespino.com. As you can see at the bottom there. By the way, if you like what you see, if you like the content, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please give me a thumbs up. Every thumbs up, every subscription helps in the process of getting the show really moving and going. And become a Patreon. Come on, a couple bucks helps. It really does. Patreon.com/Angel Espino. Very easy to get to. Again, patreon.com/Angel Espino. Until next time, everybody, please stay safe, stay KungFlu free, and let's all pray that the president stays with POTUS 45. Peace, everybody. Peace.